Ever wish that you could predict the weather? Now you can find out how. Watch for Vicki Griffin's Do-It-Yourself Weather on News 4, Wednesday at 6.
Your favorite Tuesday night shows will return next week at their regularly scheduled times.
That's great!
I'm in love with it.
Now stay tuned for the World Series. Thursday, Cosby's determined to make Theo.
From Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, California, NBC Sports presents the 1984 World Series between the Detroit Tigers and the San Diego Padres. This was Sunday. Bedlam in this city by the border. San Diego's miracle comeback against the Chicago Cubs that put the Padres into the series against the Detroit Tigers. Hi, I'm Vin Scully. It wasn't always that way. It wasn't always a baseball game played before 58,000 people with lights atop the stadiums, with television cameras and media from all across the country and around the world interested in the outcome of the World Series. No, it was not that way at all. In the beginning, and for any good story, there's always a beginning, you have to go back to horse and buggy days, when there was a game, but it was a small game known to only a few. In fact, you have to go all the way back to 1903.
It was late September, and as the season turned, a nation's thoughts turned to baseball.
Old feud continues.
The years old, running with dynamite.
Them bean eaters from Boston wouldn't stand a chance against our champs anyway.
Not a prayer, Barney.
Don't write the news before it's made, Mr. Dreyfus, sir.
Don't think they really could beat us, do you?
Yeah.
You really think you're going to beat the national champions?
Well, we're only 3 years old. They've been around for a quarter century.
I still think our boys can beat them.
And, of course, it could be marvelous for both teams, where the tickets would be set at 50 cents, and the visiting club could be given a quarter on every ticket sold.
Can't we stop all this constant baseball talk?
This isn't baseball talk, my dear. This is money talk.
Hey,
Deacon, you guys are better than Boston bums, right?
I don't know. I hear that Cy Young fella is about the best pitcher there is.
Stop.
Here you might be starting.
Yep.
Most important thing is to beat those guys. We'll get them, Si.
Tonight?
What are you going to call these games anyway?
Why, it's the national championship, of course.
Excuse me, Mr. Dreyfus, it's more than that. This series of games will determine the best baseball team in the world.
Come on, this guy's no battle. Let's go, come on.
Come on, get it over the plate.
It took 8 games, but the upstart Boston Puritans beat the established Pittsburgh Pirates in 1903, and the World Series was born. For 81 years, the series has determined where the championship flag will fly. And now, as American tradition continues, the court is crowded.
Barney Dreyfus, the owner of the Pittsburgh Pirates, Cy Young, a name who has tumbled down the corridors of time all the way to the present, to names like Alan Trammell and Jack Morris, and names like Mark Thurmond and Goose Gossett. Right now, here's Bob Costas.
All right, Vin, in the twilight of Jack Murphy Stadium, the Padres will go with left-hander Mark Thurmond, 14-8 for the year, the loser of Game 2 in the playoffs against the Cubs. The Tigers counter with right-hander Jack Morris, 19-11 for the season, the Game 1 winner in the playoffs at Kansas City. The Padres, all told, will use 4 starters. The Tigers will stick with a 3-man rotation, Morris, Petrie, and Wilcox. Now, Detroit won 104 games this year, but even more impressively, in games started by their big 3, they were 74-31. It's a series of contrasts, the new against the old. For the Padres, of course, this is their first World Series appearance. The last time the Tigers appeared in the Fall Classic was 1968, the year before the Padres came into existence. And to find Detroit's first World Series appearance, you have to go all the way back to 1907. They were led then by a gentleman named Ty Cobb. We'll return to talk to the managers in just a moment. First pitch is just a few minutes away. Jack Morris against Mark Thurmond, and with us, Sparky Anderson, the manager of the Tigers. Sparky, your club won 104 this year, dominated the American League East, a tough division. Is it too early to begin comparing the '84 Tigers with the Cincinnati clubs you had in the '70s?
Yeah, Bobby, because, that was 9 years, and those guys averaged 96 victories a year. When you ask the club to do that, that's an awful lot of wins. We've averaged 98 with 92 last year and 104 this year for 2 years. If we go 7 more years and keep the pace, then we'll sit down and compare them.
You faced Dick Williams in a World Series before. In 1972, his Oakland A's beat the Reds in 7. Is Sparky Anderson any different 12 years later?
I'm saying older, uglier, but the same. Got more wrinkles now, Bobby. But no, I really felt that Dick was a great series, and I felt that he outmanaged me because 6 of the games were decided by 1 run, and they beat us 4 games to 3. So that was enough evidence for me that I just got lost in the shuffle somewhere.
Sparky, thank you. Good luck.
Oh, thank you, Bobby.
Now, the Detroit Tigers broke from the gate at 35-5 this year. They established early that they were the best club in the American League. For the San Diego Padres, it was a different story. Here's Len Berman.
Thank you, Bob. 5 years ago, Sparky Anderson talked of winning a pennant in 5 years, and it happened. But here in San Diego, they had a 5-year plan of their own. Not too many people knew about it. Those who did were skeptical, but nobody's laughing now. Sunday, October 7th, 1984. A date that will live forever in the memories of San Diego Padre fans. The Padres were National League champions. Not bad for a team that played in the town that is best known for a zoo. In fact, there were times early in the team's history when it was hard to tell which was which. Who could have foreseen that Tigers would be the prime attraction in town today? The fans did come to the ballpark for lots of reasons, but rarely to see winning baseball. Until '84, they never finished higher than 4th. In 15 years, they finished a combined 417 and a half games out. Their 1980 highlight film was 12 minutes long. Their late owner, Ray Kroc, went on the loudspeaker after a loss and announced to the crowd, "That was the worst exhibition of baseball I have ever seen." They did have some fine players: Randy Jones, Raleigh Fingers, Gaylord Perry, Dave Winfield, and Ozzie Smith, who made this remarkable play in 1978. But their best-known performer for years was a chicken.
Say, that's a good-looking watch you got there.
Oh, thanks, Jack.
Trade you a box of my best cigars for it.
No thanks.
First League autographed baseball?
Jack?
Make it 2.
So enter Jack McKeon as vice president. Trader Jack. An 11-player deal that brought catcher Terry Kennedy. He got Greg Nettles and free agent Steve Garvey and Goose Gossage.
It was a 5-year plan, and hopefully that we could be in a position to contend by the year 1985.
It really was I've heard that line so often, I don't really believe it.
I can take you up my office and show you.
And shrewd drafting. The San Diego Clippers drafted Tony Gwynn out of San Diego State for the NBA. But Jack McKeon also drafted and signed him for the Padres. This year, he was the major's top hitter. If there's one moment that stands out from the Padres' regular season, ironically, it's the brawl in Atlanta. The players felt it brought them together. They had been in first place every day since June 9th, but now they would not be intimidated by anybody. They had finally emerged from the shadow of the zoo. After all, they have caged the Cubs, and now they have some definite plans for the Tigers as well. Joining me now is Padres manager Dick Williams. Dick, what's the mood of your club? I would imagine some of them may be happy just to be in a World Series.
They're elated. After surviving the 5-game series against the Cubs, we're happy to be here. It was an unbelievable experience being down 2 games to nothing, then coming here, and our fans rallied us. If anybody said they didn't, they're wrong. They just got behind us and support us all the way, and, well, here we are. We're going to face the team that had the best win-loss record in both major leagues this year, and we have our hands full.
Dick, Sparky Anderson said a few minutes ago he thought you outmanaged him 12 years ago. Do you view World Series in those terms, Sparky versus Dick?
Absolutely not. I do know one thing, and that shows we've had longevity, or else been with some very good ball clubs. Whoever wins this one, the manager of that club will be the first one to win a championship in both leagues. And if it's Sparky, I'm happy for him. If it's me, I'm thankful to my players. But as far as out-managing anybody, no, that's not right, and Sparky knows it. We both came up in the same organization, the Brooklyn Dodgers. We both learned our baseball the same way. We were both utility players. And he's dedicated, I'm dedicated, and there should be a good series. But out managing, no. The players are the ones that play the game, man.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Congratulations. Best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our World Series pregame report will continue in just a minute.
You know, great deeds are always magnified when they're performed in a World Series. Bill Mazeroski, for example, was an all-star second baseman throughout his career with the Pirates. But the image of Mazeroski, which remains with us, is that of him rounding the bases after his homer beat the Yankees in the 1960 series. Yeah, whether you're a star or a journeyman, when fate takes your hand in the Fall Classic, it ensures a certain kind of immortality.
1947, Joe DiMaggio could have been the hero again. Instead, it was Al Gianfrido's sole moment in baseball's sun. 1955, Sandy Amaro steps from the shadows into the spotlight, saving Brooklyn's only world championship. Game 4, 1969, and for an instant, Hall of Fame talents Seaver and Robinson are mere bit players, because this scene belongs to Ron Swoboda. And then there is Don Larson. For one day, smack in the middle of an otherwise undistinguished career, he was nothing less than perfect. Now, 28 years later, Larson finds himself at a baseball card show in Sacramento. That one day in 1956, the difference between obscurity and legend.
You don't get tired of something, you know, that everybody's entitled to a good day, you know, in one form or another. Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was, it really was. Seemed like it was yesterday. I hope I don't wake up. When I came to the game that day, and there was a ball in my locker. You know, that Crosetti used to put the balls in the locker, and there was a starting pitcher, and I was sort of surprised. You know, being the lousy start I had in the second game. During the game, you know, probably the hardest hit ball was Jackie Robinson leading off the second inning. Andy Carey got his glove on the ball, knocked it down, rode to McDougal, and Gill threw him out at first. The first hit of the ball game was Mickey's home run, and he only gave us 5 hits.
For Mantle, that blast off Brooklyn's Sal Magley was just one of a record 18 World Series home runs, one of countless highlights along the road to the Hall of Fame. For the great ones like Mantle or the Giants' Willie Mays, the World Series is a showcase, a confirmation of greatness. A Reggie Jackson clouts 3 home runs in the last game in 1977, and it serves as a kind of exclamation point in a career full of memories. But for a sub-500 lifetime pitcher like Don Larson, the whole story was written on October 8th, 1956.
Don't ask me why that ever happened to me, because I still sometimes can't realize it ever happened. The most exciting thing I probably got was Yogi jumping on me, and I was happy enough, but I thought my mind probably went blank when Yogi hit me. I probably really haven't woke up yet. Hope I never do.
Larson is ready, gets the sign. 2 strikes, ball 1. Here comes the pitch. Strike 3. A no-hitter, a perfect game for Don Larson. A no-hitter, a perfect game for Don Larson. A perfect game for Don Larson.
World Series memories. More awaiting now in 1984. Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola will join us right after we return to New York and NBC News, so stay with us.
This is NBC News Digest, sponsored by Hi-Pro brand dog food. Here is Tom Brokaw, NBC News.
Good evening. Social Security benefits symbolize the latest campaign controversy. President Reagan today ruled out any present or future benefit cuts, but Walter Mondale said he's made that promise before and didn't keep his word. Salvadoran rebels today accepted President Duarte's peace talk invitation, but one left-wing leader said that does not mean that they will lay down their arms. Now this. 4 Armenian immigrants were found guilty today of plotting to blow up the Turkish consulate in Philadelphia in 1982. They'll be sentenced in December. And the Los Angeles City Council today tentatively approved smoking restrictions in workplaces with more than 4 employees. I'm Tom Brokaw in New York. More news later on this NBC station.
Thursday, Cosby's determined to make Theo a football star.
Mistake number one.
But first, he's got to teach him the game.
But that could take weeks.
Years.
Then on Family Ties,
Are you a drink?
Jennifer tries to compete with Valerie for an older boy's attention.
I'm not a little girl. Wait on my bike.
Thursday.
Going to the series. That's right.
NBC Sports presents the 1984 World Series. Tonight, Game 1, the Detroit Tigers versus the San Diego Padres. Brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By White Beer from Miller, an official beer sponsor of Major League Baseball. By Actra from Gillette, the essence of shaving. And by Epson, one of the oldest new names in
Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, scene of Game 1 of the 1984 World Series. Temperature in the 70s, a beautiful night for a big ball game. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Someone once said that history is a pile of ashes, and out of the ashes have arisen the Detroit Tigers and the San Diego Padres.
And I think the attitude coming into this series is a little bit different than I'm used to, Vin, and probably you too, for that matter. Detroit is ready. They clinched early. Their rotation is all set. They come in pretty much like a surgeon, ready to operate. The San Diego club, I think they feel like, hey, regardless of what happens on the field, something good will happen and we'll win. So it's really going to be a clash.
One thing you have to remember, neither team was really threatened after the All-Star game. I think the shortest lead for Detroit was 7 games, the shortest lead for San Diego 5. So we have two very good ball clubs ready to go after each other. If you doubt that, ask Kansas City and Chicago.
Yes, they are watching.
Tough place to be right now on a beautiful night in San Diego. Jack Morris going for the Tigers, and for the Padres, it'll be Mark Thurmond. Right now, for player introductions, let's go to our PA announcer, Bruce Benkowski.
Participants, the 1984 World Series. First, the Detroit Tigers. Trainer, Bill Beam. Trainer, Pio DeSalvo. Equipment manager, Jim Schmeichel. The coaching staff. Gates Brown. Billy Consulo. Alex Grammas. Dick Trzeski. And in the bullpen, Roger Craig. And now tonight's non-starters. Infielder, Doug Baker. Infielder, Dave Bergman. Outfielder, Rusty Coos. Infielder, Tom Brookins. Pitcher, Bill Scherrer. Pitcher, Dave Rosenbaum. Infielder, Howard Johnson. Pitcher, Willie Hernandez. Pitcher, Aurelio Lopez. Outfielder, Johnny Groff. Outfielder, Rupert Jones. Pitcher, Milt Wilcox. Pitcher, Doug Bear. Pitcher, Sid Monte. Pitcher, Juan Berenguer. And pitcher, Dan Petrie. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the starting lineup for the American League champion Detroit Tigers. First, the manager, number 11, Sparky Anderson. He scored an American League high 5 runs in 1 game this season. The leadoff man, playing second base, number 1, Lou Whitaker. The American League Player of the Month this past April, batting second and playing shortstop, number 3, Alan Trammell. The most valuable player of the American League Championship Series, batting third and playing right field, number 23, Kirk Gibson. He hit a personal high 33 home runs this year, batting fourth, the catcher, number 13, Lance Parrish. A .331 hitter in the second half of the season, batting fifth, the left fielder, number 31, Larry Herndon. He proved his versatility by playing 7 different positions for Detroit this season, batting sixth, the designated hitter, number 27, Barbaro Garvey. He has averaged 21 home runs in his 3 seasons with Detroit, batting seventh, the center fielder, number 34, Chet Lemon. He batted .300 in the American League Championship Series, batting eighth, the first baseman, number 41, Darrell Evans. He drove in the winning run in Detroit's pennant-clinching victory, batting ninth, the third baseman, number 8, Marty Castillo. And warming up in the bullpen, he pitched a no-hitter this season and led Detroit with 19 wins. The starting pitcher, number 47, Jack Morris.
Before we meet the San Diego Padres, let's listen to Dick Williams and Sparky Anderson talk about what they think will be the key to this 1984 World Series.
I think the key for Detroit to win the series is we have to stop Wiggins and Gwynn, because if we don't stop Wiggins and Gwynn, that's just going to leave too much free time for Garvey and Nettles, and if we do that, we're going to be in trouble.
Well, there are a number of keys for our team in the World Series. To get good starting pitching, our bullpen has been doing a tremendous job. But I think the pitching and defense can stop the hitting. If our starting pitching can perform a little better, we know our bullpen has been able to do the job, then maybe we can contain a pretty good ball club. The best one-loss record in baseball this year.
The trainer, Dick Dent. Equipment manager, Ray Peralta. The coaching staff, Deacon Jones, Ozzie Virgil, Harry Dunlop, Jack Kroll, and in the bullpen, Norm Sherry. And now, introducing tonight's non-starters. Luis Salazar. Tim Flannery. Mario Ramirez. Bruce Bochy. Kevin McReynolds. Champ Summers. Pitcher Eric Shaw. Ed Whitson. Luis De Leon. Craig Lefferts. Andy Hawkins. Outfielder Ron Renicky. Greg Harris. Dave Dravecki. Tim Lawler. Greg Booker. And number 54, Rich Gossage. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the starting lineup for the National League champion San Diego Padres. First, the
number 23, Dick Williams. He broke his own club record with 70 stolen bases this year. The leadoff hitter playing second base, number 2, Alan Wiggins. He led the major leagues in 1984 with a .351 batting average. Batting second, the right fielder, number 19, Tony Gwynn. The most valuable player in the National League Championship Series. Batting third, the first baseman, number 6, Steve Garvey. Appearing in his 5th World Series, batting fourth, the third baseman, number 9, Greg Nettles. He threw out 2 runners in Sunday's National League pennant-clinching game. Batting 5th, the catcher, number 16, Terry Kennedy. He collected 3 game-winning RBIs off the bench in 1984. Batting 6th, the center fielder, number 20, Bobby Brown. The winner of the 1984 Clyde McCullough Award as the Padres Rookie of the Year. Batting 7th, the left fielder, number 14, Carmelo Martinez. The catalyst in the National League Championship Series, batting .333 against the Cubs, hitting 8th, the shortstop, Gary Templeton. Ranked 5th among National League pinch hitters this season, batting 9th, the designated hitter, number 7, Kurt Bavacqua. And in the bullpen, he pitched the longest stretch of scoreless innings by a Padre pitcher in 1984, 22 straight innings. The starting pitcher, number 38, Mark Thurmond. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you rise to honor America as Hollis Gentry and Bruce Cameron will play our national anthem.
Like it. That instantaneous split second of history immediately after the anthem. The roar of the crowd. The players are dispersed from center stage. The cannon fire and the balloons, and we are just 2 minutes or thereabouts away from the first pitch of Game 1 of the '84 World Series.
Suspense. Intrigue. Drama.
thrills, chills, excitement. All this and more from 1984. Baseball Fever. Did you catch it?
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, we draw your attention to the commissioner's box at the outfield end of the Padres dugout, where the Padres would like to welcome a man who is presiding at his first World Series game, the commissioner of baseball, Mr. Peter Ueberroth. To make this evening's ceremonial first pitch, the commissioner has selected a great baseball fan to represent the many millions of fans who attended games this summer. This gentleman, Mr. Pat Olson, 83 years young, once roomed with Babe Ruth as a baseball player. This is his 237th World Series game, representing half of all games in World Series history. Accompanying our first ball thrower is San Diego Padres President Ballard Smith. Mr. Olson of College Station, Texas, that first ball, please.
Well, Joe, that's a lovely way to start the evening. A former roommate of Babe Ruth, but now it's time to get to the nitty-gritty.
Now we get down to it. You're looking at Mark Thurmond, 14-8, 2.97. If he's on, you're going to see a lot of ground balls. He's a ground ball pitcher. If he doesn't get his changeover, he's headed for trouble. They talk about his stuff. He's got below-average fastball, a below-average curveball, but a way above-average change of pace, and that sets up his other two pitches. And if anything else about him that stuck with me was what Terry Kennedy said. He knows himself and he knows the opposing hitters, and he'll stay within himself. Mark Thurmond.
He was a pretty decent fielder, and the last two starts he had at the end of the year, he had troubles with the ball. It kept coming up on him, and he was hammered. And, of course, against the Chicago Cubs, he had a rough outing. However, he is in direct contrast to starter Jack Morris, where Thurmond was 5-5 at the All-Star break. He finished with a rush. He won 9 and lost only 3 when it really counted at the break.
I guess on a scouting report, he's got the one tag everybody likes. He's a bulldog, a real junkyard dog. He'll hang in there.
Well, he'll be pitching to Lou Whitaker, Alan Trammell, and Kirk Gibson. And look out here. You defuse a time bomb when Lou comes up. And he has power. He's had 40 home runs over the last 3 years. So Whitaker, Trammell, and Gibson. Setting the Padres defensively, Garvey, Wiggins, Templeton, and Nettles. In the outfield, Martinez, Brown, and Gwynn. And behind the plate, Terry Kennedy. So history is being made here in San Diego, the first World Series ever. The plate umpire, Doug Harvey, Larry Barnett at first, Bruce Fleming at second, Rich Garcia of the American League at third, Paul Runge of the National League on the left field line, Mike Riley of the American League on the right field line. So pull up a chair and welcome to Game 1, and here we go. Off speed, gets the corner, and we're underway. Whitaker doesn't run very much, although he has good speed. He only stole 6 bases, but they shorten up at third. Nettles is looking on a bunt, fouled away.
You're going to see a lot of running, I think, on both sides, Vin, for the simple reason that Detroit's going to send a message to Terry Kennedy, the catcher, to see if he can stop him. And, of course, Wiggins on the other side is going to say, well, I heard all about Lance Parrish. See if he can stop me.
Oh, we'll see if they can get away with Lou Whitaker with the count 0-2. Little slider away, ball 1. 1-2. Thurmond graduated from Texas A&M. He has a degree in finance, which comes in handy as a high-priced ball player these days. 1-2. Hit down the left field line foul. He came in with a fastball, so he challenged him a little bit.
He'll challenge him, and his change of pace, he showed him right away. He got it over, and that'll make him feel good, and it'll also set up his other pitches. It'll give Kennedy something behind the plate. You can work with 2 pitches. It's a definite plus.
Well, Sparky feels he has 2 excellent hitters at the top of the heap in Whitaker and Trammell. And that's foul behind the plate and out of play. Just to set Jack Murphy Stadium in your mind, named after a wonderful man, a columnist here in San Diego out of Oklahoma, a pipe smoker who had so much to do with bringing the Chargers here with the birth of the Padres and the building of this stadium. 3:27 down the line. Missed with the fastball.
And I sure hope that the move to take his name off the stadium flops. I would hate to see that.
Imagine a man who wrote a book about his dog, a Labrador named Abe of Spoon River. You get an idea of what kind of a human being Jack Murphy was.
Good guy.
Fouled away. So Whitaker is up there hacking away. His numbers, he has balanced his books. He walks about as much as he strikes out during the regular year.
With Mark Thurmond, they'll be counting pitches. Norm Sherry, the pitching coach, says it's about 90-95 for a complete game. If he gets in the 80s in the 6th inning, he's in trouble.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Lou Whitaker. Fouled away. You know how sums up the feeling down here when you have Pat Olson throw out their first ball. Remember when Bob Shirley pitched for the Padres? He had a great quote. He said, "Tradition in St. Louis is Stan Musial. Tradition in San Diego is Nate Colbert coming in the clubhouse and trying to sell you a used car." But it's changed. Breaking ball just missed. So he's been throwing breaking balls away and then trying to come inside with the fastball, and he's gone all the way.
Textbook example of a leadoff man. Worked to count to 3 and 2 and fouled off some pitches. He's made Thurmond work, and that's what he's supposed to do.
High drive into left center field. Bobby Brown going back. It's over his head. He's on the track, and it's going to bounce against the wall. Whitaker into second base standing with a long double. Boy, they go after you right away.
They come out swinging. You saw the stat on the home run. Bobby Brown replacing McReynolds. Not quite the outfielder, but I doubt if McReynolds would have been able to make that play. Over his head, 2-base hit. And these Tigers are, well, they're doing what they did to get here.
They scored in the first inning against Kansas City in 2 of the 3 championship games, and then scored in the second inning in the 1 game where they missed. So they get you early. Sparky was saying Whitaker and Trammell are exceptional hitters. Well, Whitaker's doubled, and now he has Trammell. You see, Allen has closed his stance, that left leg much closer to the plate than it used to be. It has given him more power. You watch him when he gets back in there. What does that tell you if you're the catcher? And he's bunting up along third, foul.
Well, you have to wait for his stride, because what he's doing, he's closed his stance because he was opening up his shoulders much too soon, and he wants to make sure he waits on the ball and kind of hits behind it. Now, if you get inside, he can still open it up. You can see him short enough to beat out the base hit. If he were to stand there and just stride like that, you'd say to yourself, well, this guy's looking for the pitch inside so he can open up quickly and pull it.
He led the league in sacrifices last year, so he's a good bunter. 2-1.
Terry Kennedy is a very active catcher. He'll tell you location a lot by watching his body and watch his glove. As you saw there, he motioned down. Thurmond has to stay down. He can't pitch up or he'll get killed.
So Thurmond, who made so many pitches, went 3 and 2, and then Whitaker doubled, is behind 2 and 1 to Trammell. Well, he got away with a pitch that was up. And actually, you're pitching right into his kitchen because he is a high ball hitter and a high fastball hitter, and Thurmond got away with that one. 2 and 2. Just the start of things. And he bounced that 3 feet in front of the plate. Kennedy blocking it and Whitaker holding it second.
I'll never get it into the scoring rules, but that to me should be like an RBI because the catcher did save a base. Now, Whitaker had some ideas about maybe going on over to third, and he sees, I waited too long. That was what the late, great Casey Stengel used to call the 55-foot curveball.
Well, he went 3 and 2 to Whitaker, and he comes right back 3 and 2 to Trammell. That's not a good sign for a fellow who has to beat you with control. 3 and 2.
first inning's got to be a tough inning for all pitchers in the first game of the World Series. I would think that by the second inning, you'd be able to settle down if you're still around. He's made a lot of pitches. He's going to need some help.
Dick Williams, of course, a very knowledgeable manager who's been through the mill, has won pennants. He actually managed in all divisions, and now, like Sparky, trying to win in the other league. Shot foul outside of third and down the line.
He's made 17 pitches already, and you can see the toll that that's going to take. But I just wonder, and I'm sure that Dick Williams and Norm Sherry take it into consideration. He's pumped up. The adrenaline is flowing. I mean, it's not just another game, and I'm sure that he's a little bit stronger right now than normal, and they'll take that into consideration.
It might be his problem, too. He might be overthrowing because of the adrenaline. Let's see. 3-2. Lined into left field. That's a base hit. Whitaker is to third, and Graham is sending him in to throw to the plate. He's in, and it is 1-0 Detroit. Holding at first is Trammell, and the Tigers have done it again. They scored in the first inning.
They will run on this outfield. Gwynn charges the ball hard, but he's the most aggressive outfielder. As we look at the replay, line drive, left field. Graham doesn't hesitate. Whitaker, better than average speed. Martinez's throw cut off, no chance in the world.
So the pattern continues. You know, Detroit never trailed in any of their 3 games with Kansas City, while San Diego trailed at one time or another in all 5 of their games against the Cubs. And they're down 1-0, nobody out, and Kirk Gibson at the plate. Right. The big guy that Sparky calls the animal.
Sparky says he's the kind of a player you could put him in a can, put the lid on top of it, and he'll still score.
Most pitchers try to work him, the old cliche about going up the ladder. He has a tendency, if he goes after a high first pitch, he'll then follow the next one up and go after the next one. So we'll see if they try and work him up the ladder. 0-1.
You miss, and he'll hit the ladder on the light standard.
Yeah, right. And there goes the runner, the throw to Garvey. Garvey down to Templeton to get him. And that's a big play because Anderson felt, I'm sure, that Garvey does not have the good arm to throw to second base.
It's not only does he have the good arm, he very rarely throws there, but you can see that the Tigers are off and running immediately. Trammell broke much too soon. Garvey's throw in good shape. Templeton is there, makes the easy tag. It's a big play for many reasons. It sends a message, but also with Gibson up there, he loses the hole between first and second.
He's going to drag a bunt, and he left it in Kennedy's mitt. 0-2.
And keep in mind that the Tigers feel that they have to stop Wiggins and Gwynn, and the best way to stop them is to let them play catch-up baseball. And when you lose base runners, it's tough to add numbers to that scoreboard.
So we'll see now if this pitch is up around the eyes or whether he's going to go breaking ball away. 0-2. Breaking ball away, hit into left center, but Martinez is there.
As you watch from our center field shot, Kennedy giving the signals, and Lance Parrish the same way. In fact, most catchers, and I'd say from the big leagues to the playground, for crying out loud, the last thing they do is the location. You can see that Kennedy wanted a fastball inside. He uses a little pinky, and here comes the curveball, and you don't ever throw breaking balls inside. So that tells you something.
Well, here's a guy with more power than any Tiger has had since Willie Horton back in '68. Lance Parrish. Fastball in there.
You can see the indecision that Kennedy wanted that ball inside. Thurmond just kept looking at him and shook him off. That's one way that the pitcher will do. He'll shake you off. And Kennedy, as he gives the sign, well, last thing is location.
1-1. You have to remember with this Detroit ball club, it had the best record on the road in the major leagues. It's not overwhelmed by being in San Diego by any means. Change fouled away. Good pitch. 1-2. In case you joined us a little late, Lou Whitaker doubled on a 3-2 pitch. Trammell singled on a 3-2 pitch, and Whitaker scored against Mark Thurmond. 1-2. So he went up around the eyes, but Parrish wouldn't bite. 2-2.
That's Morris, Jack Morris. Don't think that he's got all those pitches when you saw Thurmond shaking him off. If he had that many pitches, you'd have to take your shoes off to give the signs. He was just shaking them around.
2-2. Little chopper back a third. On the line is Nettles. A long throw. Garvey off the bag. And Parrish aboard. Nettles from 25 feet back of the bag. Too much of a throw. And Parrish aboard.
Nettles gets over there in good shape. Tries to set himself, but that's a long throw. Parrish got down the line in pretty good shape. It's a base hit.
So with 2 down and lands Parrish at first. Parrish, no running speed.
Don't be surprised, though. He may want to send Kennedy a message. If I were Kennedy, I'd be looking for him.
Well, Parrish has stolen 2 and been caught 3. Slow dribbler to Nettles, no play. So it's a single for Larry Herndon, and down to second goes Parrish. And now Thurmond is a little unlucky. Back-to-back singles. That's the 4th hit of the inning. You had Whitaker double, Trammell single, and now 2 infield jobs.
They're using the foot gun attack, all right. The grub worms in front of home plate will not sleep. They've been beaten down on it. 2 base hits, none of them having left the infield, and here's Garvey.
Barbaro Garvey, the DH. His numbers during the year. Interesting to point out about the DH, every other year, the World Series follows the American rule, but the outcome hasn't followed the American League. In every World Series, when the DH was used, the team with the highest DH average has won every time. Oddly enough, the National League had the highest DH average and won 3 of 4. 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. You have 2 on. Parrish at second, Herndon at first. 1-0 Detroit. Yes, the start of the ballgame. Boy, he's making a lot of pitches.
He's making a lot of pitches, but I'm sure Dick Williams and the Padres feel they got the perfect man out there, the bulldog, the junkyard dog, to hang in there because of what's happened. Whitaker hit the ball hard, Trammell hit the ball hard, but these 2 base hits can upset you. He's made 30 pitches.
2-1. In there. Slider in on the hands, much to the delight of this crowd, somewhere around 59,000. So deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Runners at first and second, 1-0 Detroit. Parrish at second, not particularly fast at all, and Herndon at first. Breaking ball hit foul down the right field line, out of play.
And already, here in his first inning, Dick Williams is, I'm sure, thinking that the least little bit of trouble in the 4th, 5th inning, I'm going to bring in my middle relief, which is so strong. He's had great middle relief from Hawkins and Dravecki and Leffert. So with all these pitches, because the magic number from Norm Sherry was 80 in the 6th.
2-2 the count. Ground ball to Nettles, and he's going to go to the bag and beat Parrish, and the inning is over. So Detroit gets the minimum out of the maximum. They get 1 run, 4 hits, and leave 2. And at the end of half an inning, the Tigers won, the Padres nothing.
This is Randy Jones in downtown San Diego for Light Beer from Miller. And I'm telling you, these Padre fans are really fired up. Hey, anything you fans want to tell those folks down in Detroit?
Light tastes great! Light tastes great!
Let's take it down to Norm Cash in Detroit. Hey, Randy, see these Tiger fans? They might have something to say about that.
Light tastes Philly! Light tastes Philly! Tastes great! Tastes Philly! Tastes great! Tastes Philly! Tastes great!
Mark Thurmond has to feel he got out of it cheaply enough as he goes up the runway to cool off. 1 run, 4 hits. They could have put him away.
They could have. He made 33 pitches. He's up in the clubhouse. He'll be back out. Jack Morris on the mound taking his warm-up tosses. You were with us. He pitched a no-hitter right on our game of the week. Morris has a very hard slider, good fastball. He's been throwing very hard. They've clocked him against Kansas City at 95, 96. He'll throw that split-finger fastball that pitching coach Roger Craig has made so famous, and it'll be awesome at times. His problem to stay within himself and don't get upset. He's a tough competitor. I tell you, a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't get upset. I used to like to see that in the pitcher.
Well, that's the way they think down here in San Diego. You'll see quite a few funny signs throughout the stadium. Jack Morris, however, is all business right now. When he won 19, that's the same number that Bert Blyleven won. But he was the hottest of the pitchers when the Tigers broke out of the barrier and wore 35-5. He did a turnabout, as you can see. So this year, along with a no-hitter, he's had a 3-hitter and a 4-hitter, and he can be overwhelming. Jack Morris will be pitching to Alan Wiggins, Tony Gwynn, and Steve Garvey.
Ben, I think while we got a chance here, would like to point out that infield, you heard complaints on both sides. We may see some bad hops. And said, in fact, Sparky said, now I can understand why Sandberg didn't come up with the ball and why the ball scooted through Durham.
It is an extremely difficult infield, and now Alan Wiggins is getting a standing ovation from a great part of the crowd.
And the third baseman has come in very close. Castillo, as close as I've ever seen a third baseman. They're going to challenge Wiggins to bunt. Look at that. He's right on top of him.
And Morris, who is quick, starts him, and it's fouled at the plate. 0-1. Alan Wiggins, switch hitter, much better hitter from the right side with a little power, but of course extra steps to the bag.
Left side, he just kind of pokes the ball, the opposite field.
0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike to Wiggs. Maybe the noble experiment paid off and was one reason why the Padres were so successful. They took a big gamble. They took Wiggins, an outfielder by trade, converted him to a second baseman. And even though he made a lot of errors, 32, he got the job done. And Jack Morris trying to get him 1-1. 1-2.
Castillo right in on top of him, and I tell you, he's almost saying to him, you can't hit it by me. He moved back just a couple steps. They're shaded way over to left field as if he were a right-handed hitter.
If he hits a ball to straightaway center or right center, that's a sizable gap. Fouled away. The Tigers defensively, Darrell Evans and Lou Whitaker, Alan Trammell and Marty Castillo, with Larry Herndon, Chet Lemon, and Kurt Gibson, Lance Parrish behind the plate, and Jack Morris on the hill.
That's where you were talking about, Ben. Look at that gap right up the middle.
And he's a rabbit. If he ever finds a gap, look out.
That's why Jack McKeon drafted him. When you got a truck, replace it with a rabbit. He did.
A little pop fly back of first, slicing foul down the line. Evans in pursuit, back in the seats, out of play.
Always find that in the first inning of a big ball game, a lot of messages are being sent. I think the Tigers have already sent a message to Terry Kennedy, we're going to run, as you saw Trammell get picked off. When Wiggins came up to hit, Sparky is saying you're going to have to really make a bunt or drag it to get on because Castillo is going to play close. A lot of little things going on here.
Well, Sparky eyeballing Wiggins, 1-2 the count. 2-2. Morris is very quick. I don't mean his pitching, but the way he bounces off the mound. In fact, one of the quickest pitchers Sparky ever had was a talented left-hander named Don Gullett. And he says Morris is as quick as Gullett. Ball 3.
That's the thing that Wiggins can do. He's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. And like Whitaker, he worked the count to 3-2, and that's the good leadoff man.
3-2 to Alan Wiggins. Got him. So the fastball blew him away, and that'll do it for Wiggins, and it will bring up the National League's leading hitter, Tony Gwynn.
Batting second.
We'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
Go for it. WDIV Detroit.
1 out, bottom of the first inning, 1-0 Detroit. And here is Tony Gwynn, who faced Morris in the All-Star game and struck out. And bangs it to right center. Gibson gone back on the ball. He's there.
Gibson has become a good outfielder. He's worked with Hall of Famer Al Kaline. And before the game, every game this season, and in order to work out yesterday, Sparky made a point of it that he comes out here and he works during batting practice.
And now another ovation for the Padres' most valuable player in the LCS, Steve Garvey. So the 2 most valuable players in the league championship series are both Spartans from Michigan State, Steve Garvey and Kirk Gibson. Garvey's had a notable fall-off in power, but he had his biggest home run of the year against Lee Smith Saturday night. Change. Big balloon, ball one.
That just squibbed out like he was picking up that bar of soap in the shower.
1-0 the count to Garvey. 2 down in the first inning. Tigers 1, Padres nothing. Fastball line to right. That's a base hit.
There was a classic case of hitting a pitch that was really a mistake. Lance Parrish fastball moved inside. Morris had good stuff on it, got it out, and Garvey extends those arms and hits behind it to the opposite field, much like the home run he hit off Lee Smith.
So Garvey being saluted vocally and with the signs, and now here is Greg Nettles, 40 years old, from San Diego. And a big guy at Sock, acquired from the Yankees for pitcher Dennis Rasmussen. For years, Nettles was a low ball hitter, but as the years have gone by now, he likes that ball up more until he talks about himself as being a high ball hitter.
He is a high ball hitter now.
1 ball, no strike. It was interesting, when he was with the Yankees, he bought a TV dish for the backyard so his wife could live in San Diego and watch him. After he bought it, he was traded to the Padres. 1-0. In there.
He had a great line when they clinched it. He said, in New York, they tell you to win the pennant. In San Diego, they ask you.
2 down in the first, 1-0 Detroit. Garvey with a base hit, held on at first, and Evans now goes behind him with the left-hand hitting Nettles up there. 1-1. That's that split-fingered fastball away, and the bottom dropped out of it too low. 2-1.
Most of the times it will be a ball if you can take it, but it takes the kind of discipline that's very hard to come by because the ball looks like a strike coming there.
2-1 to Nettles. Garvey doesn't figure to do any running. One reason why Evans is off the bag, as well as the left-hand hitter. Lined into left center. That's a base hit. Herndon to pick it up. Garvey held at second. Ossie Virgil was holding him all the way. That'll bring up Terry Kennedy. Noisy beginning. The Tigers had 4 hits for a run in the top of the first. The Padres now with 2 out back-to-back singles as Dick Williams talks to Norm Sherry and Sparky Anderson is alone with his thoughts. Here's Terry Kennedy. Kennedy tried to go the other way a couple of times against Chicago. It didn't work. He got into where he was feeling for the ball. The Padres are hoping he'll come back with that powerhouse swing of his. Right. Terry was influenced a great deal by an old buddy of yours down here, Clyde McCullough.
Well, I think that Clyde helped him with his confidence and kept telling him how good he was and what a great prospect that he is.
Line drive down the right field line and going into the bullpen. Garvey will score. Here comes Nettles to the plate, and he scores. Going to third is Kennedy. 2-1 San Diego. Greg Nettles carried home the tie-breaking run here in the first inning. At 40 years old, he had to make the grand trip.
That's about what he's saying. Get the oxygen. His wheels were about to come off.
1 ball, no strikes. Ball 2. By the way, they are ruling that a triple for Kennedy. So Nettles huffing and puffing, but he's got his club in front. 2 balls, no strikes. Change hit slowly down to Evans. He will feed Morris coming over just in time. So San Diego, 2 runs, 3 hits, and all with 2 out. It is bedlam already at Jack Murphy Stadium. Padres 2, Tigers 1, and we haven't warmed up the chairs yet.
In my baseball career, I was treated 9 times. But wherever I went, one thing was always the same. Everyone drank light beer from Miller. In Boston, they said the best thing about light was it's got 1/3 less calories than their regular beer. In L.A., they said the best thing was light's less filling. But I think the best thing is it tastes great, right here in New York City.
Ken, this isn't New York.
Chicago.
No.
Milwaukee. Kansas City.
Light beer from Miller.
Omaha.
Everything you always wanted in a beer,
Spokane.
and less.
Utica.
Someday on Knight Rider, there's terror in the streets.
There was no accident.
As Kid and Michael risked everything to take on the Bonsai Road in a duel to the death.
Here's the base hit by Kennedy and his Padre ball club to a man. They feel something good will happen. Just wait. It happens early here. They get a break. The ball scoots up. Gibson has to wait for it. Hits the bench. No possible play at the plate. And they answer the 1 run of Detroit with 2 of their own. And when you talk to them, as we look at Jack Morris, they say the Padres individually were not too impressive, but collectively we're tough.
Well, Morris knows he's in for a dogfight. It's 2-1 San Diego as we go to the 2nd inning. By the way, if you are keeping score, the official scorer has reversed the field. We first got word it is a triple. Now they have said no, double, and Kennedy took 3rd on the throw to the plate. Chet Lemon with the count 1 ball and no strikes. He came up empty during the LCS, but you might remember he scored the only one in the clincher in Game 3, and the wave has started in San Diego. 2-0. We'll see it here, and of course we'll see it at Tiger Stadium in Detroit.
I'll tell you, you come to the ballpark now, they expect you to work as a fan. You got to clap, shout, wave.
There's a shot to 3rd. Oh, and a hot hand by Nettles to throw him out.
Nothing new for him. He's ready, anticipating, gets that glove down, almost got it on the bare hand. Once he gets it, though, easy play.
So Lemon rips it, and it almost got between the wrists and handcuffed him. He just did stay with it.
A very hard infield. Keep in mind that it's a very hard infield. In fact, I dropped the baseball, and when it hit the infield, it came about belt high to me.
You know, Bob Verdi, the brilliant Chicago columnist, said, this infield is harder than the New York Times crossword puzzle. It's that hard. Here's Darrell Evans. Ball 1. Evans, basically a dead low ball hitter, loves to pull. Originally signed by Kansas City back in 1967. 1-0. High towering fly ball down the right field line. Gwynn across the line in the bullpen. Can't make it.
He almost had that ball.
He didn't quit on it. See if he hit his head on the fence. You see him rubbing the left side of his head.
Interesting, he was in the wrong bullpen. He would have gotten some help. When they won't let you get hurt, but they're not going to say a lot of room or anything else. They'll get lockjaw. Watch him go up and see what happens here. He does bump his head as he tries to make the catch. But you're in enemy territory and you're on your own. Open season.
1-1 to Evans. Ball 2, 2-1. He made a great catch against the Cubs in that same area. Little dribbler foul, and the count 2-2. If you joined us a little late, where you been? Well, we've really had something going here. It's 2-1 Padres. We're in the top of the second inning with 1 out. Mark Thurmond touched up for a run and 4 hits, only to see his club come back with 2 runs on 3 hits. Fouled away.
Great thing about Thurmond, Harry Dunlop, the coach who I've known it seems like 100 years, says you can ask him about any hitter in the National League, he'll tell you how to pitch him. He knows the hitters, and he knows himself.
And knowledge is a great thing. 2-2. Fisted foul.
And he can really spot the pitches. Watch Terry Kennedy's glove, and he's hit the spot 3 different times against Evans, and that was his 42nd pitch. You might just keep track of it because he's going to need some help, it looks like.
2-2 to Darrell Evans. Line drive down the line, foul, out of play. Evans broke in with the Tigers this year on a great note. He homered for Detroit on the road opener, and for good measure, he homered for Detroit's home opener. He hit the first home run of Bob Gibson, who holds a World Series mark. 2-2. Way outside.
Great sports family. His mother and aunt, professional softball players. His grandfather was a minor league baseball player. Man, if he gets in a slump, he can go home and get help.
And you know, he's a great guy. He was the first Braves captain after Aaron. He was the first Giants captain after Mays. That tells you a lot about him. Fouled away. Of course, he got a lot of publicity. Remember, he lives in Pleasanton, California. As we look at Mark Thurmond, Darrell Evans and his wife claim that they saw a UFO in the backyard.
They don't claim it. They guarantee it. They saw it.
Yeah, okay.
And it wasn't saying, go home, E.T.
3-2. Hit to the right of Wiggins, smothers it, gets up and got him.
You could see the look in his eyes, the appreciative look at the fans' reaction. I think the ball players don't hear you if there's 2,000 in the stands. You know they hear you when there are this many.
Here's Marty Castillo, a catcher, third baseman. Ball 1. Remember, in the third game against the Royals, he beat out what looked like a double play ball, allowing the only run in the game to score. That's in there. 1-1.
If you're wondering what that wiggle is that Kennedy is giving, most catchers will use that sign for the specialty pitch, be it the change of pace, the screwball, or the off-brand pitch.
1-1. Ball 2. 2-1 to count. We have 2 out, top of the second inning. Padres 2, Tigers 1.
There it is.
On the corner. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Fisted foul off to the right, back into the crowd, out of play. And boy, they are here. Somewhere around 58, 59,000 at Jack Murphy Stadium, which opened up in April of 1968. Before the Padres were born, Cleveland and the San Francisco Giants played an exhibition game here. 2-2. Little pop foul behind the plate. Kennedy coming to the screen. No play.
Watching Kennedy and Thurmond work, and Kennedy giving his signs, you saw him put down the 1 and then go to the pinky as if he wanted outside, shook him off, pointed inside, said yes. It points out that the catcher can merely suggest. The pitcher has the final decision. He has the ball. You can suggest the pitch in a location, but he has to okay it. Inside fastball.
2-2. High drive pop fly into shallow center. Out goes Templeton and Wiggins. It is the center fielder, Bobby Brown, who hollered Templeton off the ball. So a somewhat downcast Jack Morris, ready to go back to work, having dissipated a 1-0 lead. He'll go to the second, down 2-1.
The essence of hitting. George Brett.
Some guys say it's the rhythm, reading the pitch. For me, it's a feeling that says I'm going downtown.
The essence of shaving.
This is Atra by Gillette. It pivots so the twin blades stay on your beard longer. But what Atra is all about is the feeling that says you just got Gillette's best shave.
Gillette, the essence of shaving.
Charlie Choo-Choo Brown. The savvy he shows in the ring is the trait of a champion. Cornelius Boza Edwards, unable to have a fight that is less than thrilling and furiously paced. Brown battles Boza Edwards following the World Series on NBC Sports World.
The Goodyear blimp Columbia from Carson, California. The pilot is Captain Nick Nicolari from Stamford, Connecticut. This is the 50th World Series at which a Goodyear blimp has appeared. Looking down on a great city, San Diego, the 8th city in the United States, just a tad behind Dallas. And here is Carmelo Martinez. 0-1.
You mentioned Clyde McCullough earlier. Martinez was Rookie of the Year for the Padres, and he received the Clyde McCullough Award. Jack McKeon, general manager, he's the one who came up with the idea.
0-1. Ground ball to the hole, deep in the hole. Let's see Trammell's arm. And he made the play. Allen, of course, ever since he tripped playing Frankenstein in Halloween, hurt his arm. And it's interesting to see him make this play.
Yesterday he said, "Oh, that's just talk." He said, I have been letting up a little bit, but when I have to make the throw, I can. And he certainly proved it there. Watch how he sets himself. In fact, Steve Boras, a good baseball man, former manager of Oakland, says if I was going to do a film on how to play shortstop and show basics, I'd use Trammell as my blueprint.
Well, here's Templeton, a switch hitter, going left-handed, ball 1-0. Gary Templeton in 1979 was as good a shortstop, I think, as ever played the game. When he was with the Cardinals, he was incredible.
Good a player.
Oh. 1-1.
1979, first switch hitter to collect 100 hits, both right and left hand in the same season. Tells you something about his ability. Got to be the best 8th place hitter in baseball.
Without a doubt. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-2. Templeton plagued by bad knees. However, he claims his wheels are okay now. He's a very aggressive player with a great arm. One ball, 2 strikes. Got him. So Jack Morris, who opened up striking out Wiggins, picks up his second at the expense of Templeton.
The ball was out in the strike zone. With 2 strikes, you're not going to be that choosy. He's trying to swing down, but you see he's swinging up on that one, misses it, and it's a strikeout.
Kurt Bavacqua coming up. Bavacqua is the DH. There was some question whether it would be the left-hand hitting Champ Summers. However, Dick Williams has gone with Bavacqua. Bavacqua did some DHing when he was in the American League. Pretty tough to be an important role as a DH when you've had only 80 at-bats all year. That's all the work Kurt has had. 2-1, San Diego, bottom of the second inning.
Unhittable. That was the split-finger fastball. You could just see it drop right straight down.
And the chicken is here, along with about 59,000 others. Ted Giannoulis. 1-1 to count to Kurt. Hard slider. 2-1 to count. The players with World Series experience: Goose Gossett, Steve Garvey, Greg Nettles, Bobby Brown, and for Detroit, Doug Baer, Willie Hernandez, Milt Wilcox. The paid attendance, the fourth largest in stadium history. The other three were the League Championship Series games, 57,908. 2-1. Hit down the right field line, slicing foul and out of play.
I guess it's only natural. You always look at your position, but I used the word blueprint a moment ago. If you were going to build a catcher, well, you sure could use Lance Parrish for plans.
And if he didn't want to catch, I'd let him. Whatever he wants to do.
Whatever. And he's mobile back there. He moves behind the plate. He likes to set up with his body, but the glove is the target. And as you can see, a pretty good politician visiting with Doug Harvey. That's one of the things you like to do is catching. You get to visit like that.
And Harvey lives in San Diego, so he's probably doing a little missionary work.
That's probably what he's doing.
Yeah. 2-2 to Kurt Bavacqua with 2 out. Second inning, 2-1 San Diego. And that's hit in the air to left. Going back on the ball is Herndon near the track to one-handed. So the Padres are gone in order in the second inning, and at the end of 2, it is 2-1 Padres. We'll be back after these messages from your local stadium.
Saturday on Different Strokes, guess who has to get Sam out of hot water?
I get the idea.
And on Gimme a Break, get down with Nell at her big birthday bash Saturday.
A post-game look at all the World Series action on News 4 tonight.
Here is the split-fingered fastball by Morris, and look at the rotation. It comes out tumbling, to use Roger Craig's words. But if you noticed on the grip, when we had it back behind his ear, how the index finger, how far down on the ball it was, and the thumb, that's where you manipulate it. It's what Roger Craig teaches. He says you get the ball, close your fingers, your middle finger, index finger, and then keep opening and spreading until it feels comfortable, and think fastball. It's the arm speed that's important.
Well, here's Lou Whitaker. Little chin music, ball 1. Nettles playing him in on the grass. You remember Whitaker went 3-2. And was up there forever, it seemed, before doubling over the head of center fielder Bobby Brown. Breaking ball missed. I remember Branch Rickey used to teach young ball players. He'd put a baseball with a rod through it, and it spun like a gyroscope. And if it was a fastball, you'd see the seams only. And if it was a breaking ball, you'd see a lot of the white of the ball. Found away.
Well, hitting, that's what you pick up. You pick up the rotation, and that's why the split-finger fastball is so difficult, because it tumbles at you, and you saw it with a great shot that we had. And the arm speed as a batter, you're picking that up, and the arm speed is that of the fastball. Even if you don't throw a good split-fingered one, it's still a good straight change.
2-1. And that's a little high. Ball 3. Well, for that split second there, as we saw the seams, I felt like Ted Williams must have felt when he could see the ball that well.
That's hard to believe, that you could see a ball that well as we saw that one.
3-1 to count to Lou Whitaker. Third inning, 2-1 Padres. High fly ball. And over in left field, Carmelo Martinez waving Brown away. A magnificent evening in San Diego.
Tonight's game is brought to you by RCA, creators of video technology that excites the senses. And by McDonald's. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
So we have 1 out in the third inning, and Alan Trammell, the batter. Trammell singled in the first inning to drive in Lou Whitaker. Ball 1. If you weren't with us, Mark Thurmond had Whitaker double, Trammell singled him in. And with 1 out, Parrish and Herndon singled. But the Tigers managed only 1. Little breaking ball, 1-1. Fastball hit through and into left field for the base hit. So Nettles had shortened up looking bunt, and Trammell found the hole on the left side. Allen is now 2 for 2. That is hit number 5 off Thurmond. Trammell is a magnificent hitter. In fact, he hits 300 almost every possible way.
320 against left-handers, 310 against right-handers, 318 at night, 304 daytime, 304 at home, 322 on the road. He's hit the numbers except when he plays the numbers.
Consistency, thou art a jewel. Thou art a Trammell. And here is Kirk Gibson, who flied to left field in the first inning. Worked in under the hand, so Thurmond is not afraid to come in on the hitters. But he's allowed 5 hits in 2 1/3 innings.
You hear expressions like he's gutty, not afraid. He'll challenge you when they talk about Thurmond.
1-0, and again in on the knuckles. Ball 2. Trammell could run. He's got 19 stolen bases, but Gibson up there with a Garvey on the bag. And it's a question of whether they're going to test Kennedy, that message you were talking about earlier.
That's the only reason, because right now you'd want Gibson to take a good whack. Kennedy looking for some help from the bench because he's screened by the left-handed hitter.
So Trammell at first, 1 away in the 3rd, 2-1 San Diego. Trammell not going, and there's another one in at the hand, and he's fallen behind 3-0.
I asked about hitting 3-0, and Sparky himself says there are a couple guys I let happen, Parrish and Gibson. Gibson is the best. He's better disciplined. A lot of times you let Parrish hit 3-0 just to make him swing the bat, but Gibson, he'll turn him loose sometimes.
He hit 27 during the year, and there's a high strike. He's a dead low ball hitter, so Thurmond is trying to keep the ball up, and he doesn't want him to extend his arms, but he's missed 3 times in at the hands.
So Gibson really giving Grammas a good look. He's hitting all the way, but he just wants to know if Trammell is running.
Well, Gibson has struck out over 100 times. We'll see if that takes off the run and hit. Trammell is not going. That's why. Anytime you get a man who strikes out over 100 times, it's pretty dangerous to play run and hit or hit and run.
He's a tough man to double up because he's got great speed, but you can see both the hitter and the runner checking. You can see those eyes darting back and forth.
Well, where you figured he was going to get breaking ball 3 and 1, we'll see if he gets fastball 3 and 2, and if Trammell goes. He is going, and the fastball got him, and the throw to Templeton is too late to get Trammell.
Templeton made a good tag because where he took that ball, he really cut down the distance, and Kennedy gets rid of it in good shape. I thought he had good balance, did everything right except get the man. Look where he makes the tag, and he's in front of it, but Trammell is in there.
Had the throw been down near the bag or even on the second base side, he might have had it.
It almost had to be one of those perfect throws. A pitcher to get rid of that ball, it's got to be about 1.4. A catcher's got to be about maybe 1.8. The total thing, if you can get down in 3.6, you can see Trammell looking at the hitter. It was not a straight steal. Ball looks like he gets there with that angle, but Trammell was there, framing a good call.
So they played run and hit, where the batter is not obligated to swing at ball 4, and Gibson strikes out, but they get away with it, and that's in at the hand. So Thurmond trying to keep these big hitters from extending. And boy, you got a big hitter here, Lance Parrish. Parrish had 33 home runs, as befits a weightlifter, although a lot of people tell you shouldn't be lifting weights if you're trying to be a baseball player.
They don't know what they're talking about.
2-0.
Properly trained athlete of today is better trained than any time in my time. I mean, it used to be that guys went to spring training to lose weight. These guys now, they train, and they train properly.
And I'm sure Dick Williams, along with Norm Sherry there, are taskmasters. The 2-0 pitch. Breaking ball missed. Boy, Thurmond has had 4 3-2 counts. Trammell is at second with 2 out in the 3rd inning.
He needs a couple 1, 2, 3 innings is what he needs. Will you let Parrish swing 3-0? He's got enough power to do it. And it's ball 4. So Mark Thurmond growing older by the minute, but no one throwing in the bullpen. He's making a lot of pitches. Sparky trying to get him.
and Larry Herndon will be coming up. Williams showing a great deal of patience. The middlemen, as Joe mentioned earlier, Hawkins, along with Dravecki and Lefferts, they'll play a very important role, I would think, in this game tonight. 71. What'd you say about 80? He's almost there.
Norm Sherry talked that was a magic number. He's almost there in the third inning. He was talking in the sixth inning.
And he missed ball one, so he's pitching uphill, and Kennedy going out to talk to him.
And that's the thing that Kennedy has done this year he didn't do. Here comes Norm Sherry to come out and talk to him now, and it's really a case of stay within yourself, relax. Can't make a whole lot of mechanical changes right out there, because if you haven't got your act together when you're out there, it's just too late.
One of the interesting little stories, a little box on the World Series, the fact that Dick Williams and Sparky Anderson were teammates for the Fort Worth Cats in the Dodger organization. Another member of that team in Fort Worth was Norm Sherry. On the other side, Roger Craig, the pitching coach for Detroit, was the first manager of the San Diego Padres to have a Padre team finish above 500. That was in 1978. So there's a lot of homecoming feeling here.
Roger said that when he was managing here, he said, I promised the San Diego fans a World Series. And here it is.
Yeah, right. All right, 1 ball and no strikes to Larry Herndon. Lance Parrish at first, Alan Trammell at second, 2 down, third inning, 2-1 San Diego. Big chopper to Nettles. He'll short hop and go to the bag. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. At the end of 2.5 innings, Padres 2, Tigers 1. Coming up, Wiggins, Gwynn, and Garvey.
You know, one of the best things about being an ex-big leaguer is getting freebies to the game. Call the front office, bingo. And once these fans recognize me, I probably won't even have to pay for my light beer from Miller. Down it, I love them. These fans know I drink light because it's less filling and it tastes great. Good seats, huh?
You're in the wrong seat, buddy. Come on.
Oh, I must be in the front row.
Come on.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Good seats, hey, buddy. He missed the tag. He missed the tag.
From the World Series to the presidential debates, NBC News is there. When you want news from across the nation and throughout the world, turn to NBC Nightly News.
Dusk settling over San Diego as we go to the bottom of the third inning. 2-1 Padres.
Watch the grip as we give you this slow-mo. Jack Morris, we showed you the split finger. Now look how his fingers are very close together. The way he's got a grip with the seam, looks like the slider. It is. Look at the rotation. That is amazing. I can't believe Williams saw that. I don't ever believe those big hitters. Killebrew said the way to hit a knuckleball is see the seams and hit between the seams. Musial said you hit a spitball on the dry side. How are you going to believe those guys?
Well, Mark Thurmond has had a lot of pitches hit, but he's only allowed 1 run, 5 hits, and he's leading 2-1. Morris pitching to Wiggins, and Castillo is almost inside his uniform.
They're trying to take that bunt away from Wiggins. They're going to have to hit it right down his throat at third base. He is way in on him.
Wiggins struck out in the first inning. One thing about Wiggins, during the year we've noticed it, when he bunts left-handed, it almost looks as if he's sacrificing. He tips off his bunt very early, most times. 1-1. Foul back.
Deacon Jones, the hitting coach, one of the top priorities next spring when they go to Yuma is for him to bunt at least twice in every game. Drag bunt, because they saw what he does by almost sacrificing. If he would really learn to drag, look out.
There are some people who feel, as Morris looks in at him, that Wiggins is the fastest man in baseball. He stole 120 bases one year. A bouncer up the middle. Behind the bag is Trammell to knock it down. Base hit.
And now you're going to see an interesting thing. This is the guy they have to stop. Does Sparky Anderson think that Morris has good enough control, and Roger Craig calls the pitch outs? Ball comes right back. Morris can't get it. Tries. Roger Craig calls the pitch outs, and I'd be willing to bet right now he'd call one. Look at
Trammell, even though he knocks that down, could not have made the play. So it's a base hit for Wiggins, and here's Tony Gwynn. You know, Tony Gwynn this year, when Wiggins reached first so that the first baseman is on the bag, all he did was hit .411. You want to talk about taking advantage of the hole on the right side, and he has that opportunity now.
And a lot of fastballs with Wiggins on first.
Well, look at those eyes of Wiggins riveted on Jack Morris. That was a great shot.
He wants to go. If he can get any kind of a jump, he's going to go.
2-1 Padres, bottom of the third. Just the start of things. Not going. They pitch out. You were right.
Now I can get excited about this. I would ask the manager before the game, give me the right to call a pitch out again, a double pitch out. I won't bet the house, but he's going to go.
All right. 1 ball and no strikes. And by the way, Morris has not walked a batter, so he's had good control if you want to take another pitch away from him on a pitch out. Pretty close. He was quick in going over there. Morris, in fact, thought he had him, and first base umpire Larry Barnett said no.
Boy, I tell you, it's really a great luxury when the manager says, go ahead, take it if you feel that strongly. But the pitcher can't get upset if he doesn't go, although this is a good move, very close. Great throw low where he just had to drop the glove.
Wiggins not giving him anything to tag as he went back with the hand.
Look at Lance Parrish looking over at the bench. He wants it. He wants that pitch out.
1 ball and no strikes.
Got it.
There it is, the second pitch out in a row, and Wiggins wasn't going.
You don't see that too often. You've got some cat and mouse game going here now. Now they got Parrish in a box. Will he go for 3? This is one of the few games that a pitch out has become exciting.
Well, we'll see now at the league's leading hitter against a 19-game winner, Jack Morris. Wiggins at first, nobody out. 2 balls and no strikes to Tony Gwynn. Castillo on the edge. Anderson has already let his catcher call 2 pitch outs to no avail. 2-0. Boy, George is working that tobacco. Ball 3, and Morris is so busy looking at Wiggins, he is losing the battle, plus the pitch outs to Tony Gwynn.
Well, that's where the pitcher's got to pick you up. He can't let those pitch outs that didn't work affect him. He's got to come back and pick you up. The good ball clubs all have an eraser. You got to have somebody to erase that mistake.
3-0. Ball 4. So they're going wild because they have Garvey, Nettles, and Kennedy coming up. Pitching minds in the game.
Well, the fact that he lost 20 games tells you how good a pitcher he is, because you have to be a pretty good pitcher to even get that many opportunities. It's the same way with striking out a couple thousand times.
By the way, Roger has a lot more on his mind than just the game, because you can put it in its proper perspective. He wanted time to send along best wishes to his brother, J.T. Craig, who has been in Duke University Hospital in North Carolina. All right, 2 on, nobody out, and Garvey, who's single to right in the first inning, coming up. Would you have a hot hitter like Garvey sacrifice knowing that he's hit into 25 double plays?
If I'm managing, yes.
All right, let's see.
Time is being called.
Rich Garcia at third, calling time, as he looked over towards the Detroit dugout. Apparently, Craig had not quite gotten back to the bench. Okay, Doug Harvey said, let's go. It is 2-1 San Diego, bottom of the third. Gwynn at first, Wiggins at second, nobody out.
The hard stuff they're going to try to keep inside. They didn't do it last time, got it outside, and he hit it to the opposite field.
Fouled away on a full swing, as you saw, so they didn't have him bunting that time. 0-1. Garvey, a remarkable player, and particularly when the spotlight is on him. He finds Wiggins at second, Gwynn at first, nobody out. 0-1. And the runners go on a bouncer to the right side. They get a tag for one, and they get the double play.
They got the double play, and they started the runners to try to stay away from the double play. And even with starting the runners, they were able to get it. And, of course, that's the inning record. Whitaker does a good job. Gwynn goes out of the baseline. He didn't have to make the tag, and you can almost see Whitaker saying, hey, nice call. Now I'll throw the first and get two.
I'll tell you, and it's not hindsight because we talked about it, but he has hit into so many DPs. You wondered about that. They had him rip away because he's been so hot, and he bangs into the double play despite the runners going. And so Greg Nettles, who's single to left, coming up. Alan Wiggins at third, 2 out, 2-1 San Diego. Marvelous play by Lou Whitaker. Morris eyeballing Wiggins as he comes down the line from third. You wouldn't expect any shenanigans with a left-hand hitter up there because the door is wide open. We'll watch Wiggins nevertheless. Steve Garvey, one of the few times in the last week that he has not come up with some big play. 0-1. And Wiggins bluffs down the line. 1-1.
You can see Wiggins as the catcher, so you got it wide open, as you pointed out, Ben, and you make it up with your pitcher. And if he starts down the line, give me the fastball out of the box, because if Nettles would try to swing, it'd be interference, and as big as Parrish is, it'd be like sliding into a handball court.
Wiggins stole home against the Dodgers twice this year on Game of the Week. Ball 2. Oh, we'll see whether Dick Williams wants to turn his rabbit loose. He had both of them going with Garvey up there. 2-1 Padres, third inning. Wiggins at third. And Morris working from a windup. Castillo is deep, as you see. He's not trying to bird dog. 3-1. You know, an interesting thing about Jack Morris, with a runner at third, he has to worry about a wild pitch, and that has really hurt him this year. Morris made 14 wild pitches, most in the American League, so Jack has something extra to concern him. 3-1. That's a strike. He led the American League in wild pitches last year.
Here's a pitch where he should just concentrate on throwing a strike, whatever the catcher calls for, because Wiggins is not coming. If he comes, throw a strike, inning's over.
3-2, 2 out. And thanks to Wiggins, Nettles walks. So Jack has walked his second man. And the batter will be Terry Kennedy.
Kennedy jumped on the first pitch and pulled it to right. Darrell Evans has walked over, and he's walking back now. Said to Morris, I'm going to be behind Nettles. They try to pitch Kennedy inside. Doesn't like the ball in.
So Wiggins at third, Nettles at first. They're not holding him. 2 out. 2-1 Padres, bottom of the third. Off speed, ball 1. You can see Evans trying to guard the territory, and Wiggins taking a stroll in the park. 1-0. thing, Wiggins is making life miserable for Jack Morris. He is coming about almost a third of the way, and since Morris is pitching out of a stretch, he's looking at him just before releasing the ball, and he's behind 2-0. Padres 2 runs, 4 hits. Tigers 1 run, 5 hits. 2-0 to Kennedy. That's a strike. Fastball picked up the outside corner. 2-1.
With that high shot, you can really see the lead that Wiggins is getting and the concentration of how Morris has to watch him.
Foul tipped. 2-2. I'll tell you one thing, if you're Wiggins, that's some roadblock down there at home plate.
Oh, you got to think twice, man.
If you're Wiggins' weight and you look down and see Lance Parrish, that's a whole new ball game.
Sam Nairn used to say tougher than 9 miles of detour.
Wiggins weighs about 160. 2-2. And that's sliced to left center, but Lemon got a jump. He's there to handle it. Knight has fallen, and it's much easier for the outfielders to pick up the ball. So Jack Morris bobs and weaves out of the third, and at the end of 3. The Padres 2 runs, 4 hits. Tigers 1 run, 5 hits.
Here's that last pitch, and look at those fingers. You can see it was a split finger fastball. And I might say that we're trying to add something new to the broadcast every year, and we spared no expense. We went to the 4 corners of the world to come up with the name, and the genius minds came. We're not going to call it a super duper. That's a slump in the Chiron.
Actually, however, and rightfully so, RCA is very proud of this new camera. Look at that.
Look at the tumbling effect. That is a great shot. It's a great effect. You'll be seeing it throughout the game. But we don't have a name like super slow-mo or reverse angle or whatever. You're just going to see it.
But what it does is sum up the fact that all the networks are doing everything possible to bring you better pictures, to fill the story out so much better, and this has become a great part of it.
That shot right there, I guarantee the TV fans saw it better than Terry Kennedy, who was the batter.
You bet. Barbaro Garbe slashes one to first base, and Garvey walks it over. 1 away. So Garbe first ball hitting, which is a little surprising, or is it? In other words, here's a kid who has made 70-some-odd pitches. Do you think Sparky would say, make him work a little bit just to knock him off completely?
Well, he's got pretty good control. That's the one factor that's going for him. He needs a 1-2-3 inning. He needs it desperately.
Well, he's got Chet Lemon. Lemon always makes it tough because he'll take one for the club. In fact, he's been hit by pitches more than 100 times. And if you're slightly inside off the plate, Chet goes to first. Off speed, got it over. Interestingly enough, Chet Lemon hit over 150 points higher against left-handers than against right-handers, so he's happy to see Thurmond. Boy, he got scared, didn't he, when he lost that fly ball, and luckily he flipped the glasses up so the ball hit his face and not the glasses. Oh. 1-1. 2 balls, 1 strike. Lemon likes the ball up, so they like to throw him a lot of off-speed pitches, and Thurmond has that kind of stuff. 2-1. So we're behind 3-1.
You see Terry motioning out. You're flattening out your arm. You're flattening out.
He might be tiring. He's over that 80 pitch mark now, I believe, right about there. 3-1. Line to left field. Coming up and over is Martinez, and has the ball get by him. Lemon into second base, and he's thinking third, and decides to hold on as Templeton is the cutoff man. Remember, Carmelo Martinez is a first baseman converted to left field. And that was the 80th pitch, and we have come now to present the bill.
He just didn't get to the ball. He was in no man's land and gets by him, 2-base hit.
They haven't given us any official mark yet.
I'd have to give him an error. Well, he didn't get a glove on it.
Yeah, I think he should have
been caught.
Yeah. I think it's majority rules in World Series as far as 3 sports writers, and it will be an error. Charge to Carmelo Martinez. And that's fisted off third, foul. Nettles had trouble picking it off for a split second, but it's well back into the crowd anyway. So Lemon representing the tying run at second as Terry Kennedy goes back to work. And the bullpen remains quiet. Padres leading 2-1 in the 4th. Evans followed by Marty Castillo. Remember, Darrell lost a base hit on a diving, smothering stop by Alan Wiggins back in the 2nd inning. One and one. See the way Evans swings a bat? That's a question for me, talking to a catcher. Do you ever get any indication about a hitter's strength, the way he pumps the bat?
Well, the way he weighs it, there's an old wives' tale about it.
Ball 2.
That when he takes those practice swings, the last swing that he takes is where he really wants the ball.
Ah, you believe that?
No, I don't ever believe a ball player.
Well, he's a low ball hitter, and he's keeping that bat high now. 2-1. Half swing, foul tip, strike 2. Evans hit 16 home runs this year, but only one of them against a left-hander. Lemon at second, 1 out, 4th inning, 2-1 Padres. Just notice, if Lemon were hitting that way, he might get chewed out by the umpire. See the glove hanging out of his back pocket? See it?
Yeah.
2-2. Ball 3. You remember what happened in Cleveland?
Yeah, Mel Hall had a couple of them in there. He liked to have them in the back pocket, so when he hit a home run and he circled the bases, he was waving bye-bye to the other players.
That's baseball's answer to a tailgate. 3.
Gotta win friends you get knocked down the next time up.
3-2 to Darrell Evans. Breaking ball rolled down to second. Wiggins waiting for Garvey, who almost went after it. And Lemon advances to third. So 2 out. The tying run is 90 feet away, and Marty Castillo, the batter. Castillo flied to center in the 2nd inning. That 2nd inning is the only inning in which the side was retired for each side. If there were less than 2 out, it would be a thought. Castillo is an excellent bunter, but of course with 2 out, they're not going to try and squeeze. But if we get sometime during this series with a runner at third and less than 2, we might start thinking about Marty trying to lay one down. In there, 1-1.
Mark Thurmond pitching his typical game. If you saw him on the sidelines, he might not impress you that much, but on the mound, the expression bulldog really fits him. He's been hanging tough.
Thurmond working on Marty Castillo with a tying run at third and 2 out. Lemon on that windup came down the line trying to take a page out of Alan Wiggins' book and give Thurmond a bad time. And look at the cash register. He's going into the red. Watch Lemon now and look at Thurmond.
There you saw the determination. You can really see him almost bite down on that jaw.
1-2. In the dirt, a great block by Kennedy, or the run is home.
Yes, sir. Good play by Kennedy. You really see him get that big body there, and that size really pays off. Watch how he gets in front of it. It's on the outside part of the plate. He wants it down. Don't have to catch that ball. You have to keep it in front of you. And you practice that play. tell you feel like an idiot when you're practicing it. Guy bouncing the ball off your chest, and you go home at night and tell your wife what you did all day. I had a guy bouncing baseballs off my chest. 90th pitch and nobody warming up.
Ball 3. We mentioned Lance Parrish behind the plate as you look at the San Diego bullpen idling away the evening. But Thurmond is pitching to a big catcher because Terry Kennedy is 6'4" and 220. So there's another roadblock. With Lemon down the line from third, 3-2 to Marty Castillo. Ball 4.
There'll be some stirring now, I bet you.
Thurmond lives by control. He has walked 2 men thus far, and Dick Williams telling Norm Sherry to ring up the bullpen. Thurmond's high is only 4 walks in a game. In fact, the last 2/3 of the year, he has averaged only 2 walks every 9 innings. So you know he is really off his speed, and Williams has sent Sherry out to the mound. Dave Dravecki is moving around down in the San Diego bullpen, and Dravecki will have company. Andy Hawkins will join Dravecki in the bullpen.
Say, that middle bullpen for the San Diego Padres has really been something. Hawkins had a little stretch there where he lost a little bit of his confidence, came back in the championship series and did a sensational job, and he's right on top of his game. Dravecki's been super, and so has been Lefferts, and then they set it up for the Goose when he comes in.
So Thurmond has allowed 5 hits. He has walked 2 batters. He struck out Gibson. That's his only strikeout of the night. And he has Castillo at first and Lemon at third. 2 down, and the batter, Lou Whitaker.
Be careful of his first pitch.
Breaking ball, 1-0. Whitaker doubled over Bobby Brown's head and flied to left in the 3rd inning. Scored a run. See, Nettles gesturing with his thumb had something to say about Lemon. Maybe to the degree, forget about it.
Don't worry about him, and get the ball over. He's not going to steal, and we can't make a play if you walk people.
1-0. High drive into right center field, but it's playable, and Bobby Brown is there. There was an error and a walk, and the Tigers lead 2, and at the end of 3.5 innings, 2-1 San Diego.
From the World Series to the presidential debates, NBC News is there. When you want news from across the nation and throughout the world, turn to NBC Nightly News.
Jack Murphy Stadium, the scene of Game 1 of this 1984 World Series. A magnificent night, crystal clear, and an unexpected spectator, Mr. Moon and our Goodyear blimp. A lot going on down below. It is 2-1 San Diego in the 4th. Brown, Martinez, and Templeton.
And I certainly want to say something about Mr. Jack Morris after that last inning, the double pitch out. I've known pitchers who would just blow their cool and say, how are you going to win the game if he's got you behind all the hitters? He didn't work out for him, but he stayed with it, and he pitched out and he didn't score. I tell you, we got a sound ball game going. A lot of things.
All right, here's Bobby Brown. Drag bunt in the air. Caught by Morris. I love Brown's remark. Did you read that in the paper? He said, I'm the same guy. That's why I've been released 3 times. He hasn't changed at all.
No.
1 away. The batter now, Carmelo Martinez, who was embarrassed by Lemon's drive that he never touched, but he got away with it. Martinez grounded to short in the 2nd inning. And he'll be followed by Gary Templeton. Tigers scored in the 1st. The Padres came back with 2, and that's it up to here in the 4th. A bunt up along 3rd, and Castillo will let it roll foul. Good play by Marty. And he dared go after it. Martinez had the play beaten.
He had a good pitch to bunt. It was a high curveball. Looked like it was going to stay fair till it hit the grass, and then it just zoomed out. I don't think they've tailored it any particular way. Just happened to hit the grass and make a left turn.
Tailoring reminds me, we were talking about the infield, and they've done everything possible to try and manicure it, and you can see the ball kicking off foul. They even brought in Bill Wilson from the Rose Bowl to try and help out here. 0-1 the count. Line drive down the left field line, foul. 0-2.
That's the one thing that they want this youngster to get is more aggressive up there. He's bent over. Sometimes he gets a little bit too low. And Deacon Jones, the batting coach, says sometimes he's up there like he's waiting for a ball to be placed on a tee. He's got to widen that zone and start hacking because he's got good power.
0-2 to Carmelo. Here's the reputation of being the best fly ball hitter on the club. In other words, picking a man up from third. That'll straighten him up. There are those who look at him and think of the baby bull, Orlando Cepeda, when he was a rookie.
You know, when you used to be the best fly ball hitter on the team, they released you?
Yeah, well, now they're talking about getting the guy home from third. 1-2. He comes up empty. So Jack Morris settling down now. Remember, in the first inning, 2 singles and a double.
There's that split-fingered fastball once again. Now, the arm speed is deceiving. You throw it like a fastball, but because of the grip, and look at those seams. Roger Craig says tumbling, and brother, that's what it does. It tumbles.
That's a third strikeout for Jack. And here's Gary Templeton. A bouncer up the middle, but Trammell was playing him over near the bag, and Allen throws him out. So Jack Morris sets him down in order for the second time in 4 innings. And at the end of 4, Padres 2, Tigers 1. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
On October 14th, the epic of V continues with the final battle. And then the countdown begins for the thrilling premiere of V the Series this Sunday.
A post-game look at all the World Series action live from San Diego on News 4 tonight.
We're going to the 5th inning with the Padres leading the Tigers 2-1 as you look through a veil of light. Now look at that face, huh? He looks like the youngster who was at the plate on the pregame show about 1903. Wonderful.
That was a great face, wasn't it?
Oh, wow. Right off a 4-H poster. Here's another one. Alan Trammell. Twice single to left. He'll be followed by Kirk Gibson and then Lance Parrish. He's from nearby Garden Grove, so as far as Allen is concerned, he's just about home. 0-1. Line to right field, coming in and over as Gwynn fades to haul it in. Tony Gwynn was a marvelous basketball player. So the day that the Padres drafted him, the San Diego Clippers drafted him the same time. And he needed a lot of work because he played so much basketball. He didn't begin to play baseball till April, which is unheard of in Southern California. Bobby Tolan is the fellow who worked hard with him, both teaching him to hit and to field. Here's Gibson. Fly to left, struck out. 0-1. Two to 1 San Diego, 1 out in the 5th. 2-0. Reminder later on, NBC Light Beer Award, the player of the game. Be a tough decision right now. Two-0. Down in the Detroit bullpen, Dave Rozema is throwing. So it was Thurmond who's been in a lot of trouble. The first bullpen action now is Rozema. 2-1 San Diego. 1 out, 5th inning. Little slider in there. What a pitch that was.
Oh, he's just made 2 great pitches. A fastball on the outside corner and then the breaking ball.
So he's evened it up with Gibson. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Look at where he is. Coming up 100 pitches, and he's only halfway home.
But keep in mind, it's the first game of the World Series.
The adrenaline.
How can your arm hurt?
Yeah.
How can you get tired?
2-2. He wouldn't chase it. They figured that Gibson would go after that bad ball up. He refused to do it that time. There's a lot of talent. The first Tiger ever to hit at least 20 home runs and steal 20 bases. For a big man, he's remarkably fast. 3-2. And he laid off that pitch that's up again. So Gibson walks, and with 1 out in the 5th inning, Lance Parrish will be the hitter, and that's the 3rd walk given up by Mark Thurmond. And they'll move around again in the San Diego pen. So in the 4th inning, the tying run reached 3rd. And with 1 out in the 5th inning, the tying run is at 1st, and Dravecky and Hawkins are back in business. Under the eyes of Harry Dunlap. You go back a ways with Harry, who's standing on the foul line, don't you?
Yes, I do. I go back to Pittsburgh days. He broke in as a rookie, and he was 32 years in this game, and he was so happy about having a chance of being in the World Series. He kept telling the young fellas, hey, just enjoy it, because sometimes it doesn't come around.
Well, there's two fellas not enjoying things right now, Norm Sherry and Dick Williams. Fisted foul out of play. You have to watch Gibson. He has 29 stolen bases this year.
And much like we talked about Garvey, with 1 out here, Parrish is a double play man. They might start him even though he is the power hitter. The double play, of course, is the inning wrecker, and you want to stay away from that.
That looks like an alumni meeting of Michigan State over there at first. 0-1.
You saw Gibson kind of give Trzaskowski a glance, the first base coach. He does confirm the sign. He does not give the sign, but he'll confirm it.
No balls and 1 strike as we look at Gibson leading away from first. 1-1. You know, I was asking Alex Grammas about signs. He said, we don't even have an answer from a hitter when we have a squeeze play on. And I was really surprised about that. You always have the hitter answer back, yeah, I've got the squeeze sign?
Always.
He said they don't. 1-1 the count. The Lance Parrish, they've got Gibson picked off. Garvey to Templeton, and they get him.
Still had the ball. He knows he's in no man's land, but look at the determination. Garvey, actually, it's kind of a tough throw. He threw over his head. Usually he throws to one side. Big play, big play.
Remember, they picked off Trammell in the 1st inning. Now they pick off Gibson in the 5th. And Garvey twice doing what normally he has trouble doing in the past anyway. 1-2 the count to Lance Parrish, and it's still 2-1 San Diego in the 5th.
One thing you got to say, this Detroit club didn't come in here shooting a scared stick. I mean, you've got to be on your toes.
1-2 to Lance. Two and 2. The Detroit Tigers, only the 4th team in baseball history to go wire to wire. I mean, they're up there in the high rent district. 27 Yankees, 23 Giants, and 55 Brooklyn Dodgers. 2-2 to Lance. Just off the corner. 3-2. For a fellow who struck out 120 times, that showed a little bit of discipline taking that pitch.
He's a good player, Lance Parrish.
3-2. Shot inside 3rd and down the line. Nettles never had a chance. The ball wedging underneath the bunting. And so into second base with the ball dead goes Parrish with a ground rule double. And of course, what would have happened if Gibson were aboard and he made second base?
Nettles had no chance. The ball was inside, and watch Parrish. He really gets around on that ball, opens up, and it's by Nettles before he knows what hit him.
So 2 runs, 4 hits for San Diego, 1 run, 6 hits for the Padres, and Larry Herndon coming up. So Parrish, bidding for a perfect night, had an infield single, walked, and now doubled. And there's Kirk Gibson thinking about what might have been. Here's Larry Herndon. He had an infield single, hit into a force play at third in the 3rd inning. Right. Mark Thurmond is doing a high wire act in a windstorm out there. You wonder if he can possibly even make it halfway across, never mind going all the way. He's been in constant trouble. Herndon against Kansas City had a home run against left-hander Bud Black. 1-1.
The pitch that he's been able to get Herndon to swing at, and although he has the 1 base hit, an infield hit, not really drive, has been that off-speed pitch, and he's been able to keep it down and away. He's shown him 2 fastballs, but his out pitch has been the off-speed.
And by the way, Rosema is still throwing down in the Detroit pen. Change, and he missed with that.
That was the one he wanted right there.
So Thurmond with Parrish at second, 2 out, 5th inning. Padres leading 2-1. Lance does not have good running speed. Off the corner again.
The bullpen has indicated that they're ready. If he loses him, I'm sure he'll make the move.
How many pitches now? He's gone way out of sight.
111.
Oh, Williams knows he's not only on thin ice, 1 leg is broken through. 3-1 to Herndon, trying to pick up Parrish and get the Tigers even. Drive to right field. Gwynn going back to the track at the wall. Gone. And there's the home run by Larry Herndon to put the Tigers in front 3-2. And I guess Thurmond, the old story, he pitched to 1 more batter too many.
3 balls and 1 strike to count, and that's the 2-0. The 2 balls and 1 strike, 3-1. Those are the cripple shooting counts, and that's the one that gets you in trouble. You can look for a pitch and get your whack, and that's what Herndon did. He drove it to the opposite field, and he drove it a long way.
Boy, you got those arms out there. He really snapped after it.
And he knew when he hit it, you could see those eyes looking straight up, and he watches it, and so does Gwynn, and so do the Padres.
Herndon had a poor beginning. He had 1 ball to the track in April and May. Did not hit a home run in either month. But then after the All-Star break, he did very well. And as he gets some high fives all around, he's put the Tigers in front. Line foul down the left field line. The bat came apart. So Barbaro Garbey will have to get another. Look at that. That came unlaminated.
Toothpick factory.
Whew. Looks like a runaway propeller. Watch this thing go.
Didn't look like he hit it on the handle either.
3-2 Detroit. When the Padres hit in the bottom of the 5th, they'll have Bavacqua, Wiggins, and Gwynn. But a big home run by Larry Herndon. 1-1. Half swing, cost him a strike. 1-2. So Herndon, who had 20 home runs last year and only 7 this year, has come up with a big one tonight. Chet Lemon on deck. Fouled away. Hawkins and Dravecki are in the San Diego bullpen, and the Lions are back in the game. The Lions and the Tigers, a big banner downstairs. So the bullpen is ready if they want them. Oh, off speed, got him. Garbey way out in front of it, but the damage is done. A double and a home run by Herndon. That gives Detroit 2, and at the end of 4 1/2, 3-2 in favor of the Tigers.
You may know who got the most hits, who stole the most bases, who caught or missed the most balls. Do you know which company's financial strength protects every single Major League ball player? It is the Equitable that helps them live the good life.
America's favorite pastime returns to NBC Sports as the nation's top bowlers aim at nearly $1 million in prize money. Jay Randolph and six-time Bowler of the Year and Bowler of the Decade Earl Anthony host the PBA Fall Tour. Premieres Saturday, October 20th on NBC.
Mark Thurmond has not had an easy inning. Not only making all those pitches, he has made at least 20 pitches in every inning. And the crowd is now making its pitch. Detroit 3, Padres 2, bottom of the fifth inning. Bavacqua, Wiggins, and Gwynn. Rosma is still throwing. I don't know whether Jack Morris told Roger Craig to keep an eye on him. And now Berenger is down there, so perhaps they're each just taking a turn getting in a little work. What a contrast to Thurmond.
This is a big inning for Morris because there's an old saying in baseball, don't give up a run until you get one, which sounds very simple. Also, don't let them score after you've taken the lead. I mean, it's the unanswered and answered thing that we find in sports these days. You don't want your runs to be answered, and Morris has got to hold them here.
Well, the crowd is doing its part. Here's the 2-0 pitch to Bavacqua. Fouled away. By the way, a lot of folks have called in over the initials on the sleeves of the San Diego players. We'll show you it in a moment. The letters R.A.K. in memory of the former owner of the Padres, Ray Albert Kroc. Foul back. Mr. Kroc, there you can see it, the R.A.K. 80 years old at the time of his death. His wife Joan running the ball club. And they remember him very vividly here, especially the night that he got on the public address system and said it's the worst baseball I've ever seen. They've come a long way from that night, Joe.
I tell you, he was some fan and some man. I sat with him a couple times coming out here. Yes, it is a tragedy he's not here. You see it.
2-2. Fly ball to straightaway center. Lemon started back. Now comes up. So one away.
We showed that R.A.K. on the sleeve of Jack Kroll, who coaches first base. Jack Kroll is very seldom in the coach's box, and sometimes they even make him move back. I said, Jack, why is that? Simply fear. I don't want to get hit. There's no strategy involved. He just doesn't want to get hit.
Well, I don't blame him. You stand in that box and you have somebody like Nettles and Kennedy pulling the ball outside of first base. You're fair game. Here's Wiggins, and again, Castillo is way in on the grabs. Right. Wiggins struck out in the first inning. Morris has struck out 3. And then he singled back to second base in the third inning. But they left him at third. The outfield split and around the left. Whoa, at the knuckles. That'll make an honest man out of you.
Well, they pitched to him pretty much like they do to Mickey Rivers. He's right on top of the plate. Great speed. They want to take it away from him. They want to crowd him, and Morris is not afraid to come inside. In fact, you're looking at a pitch that may be obsolete, high and inside fastball. All of a sudden, it's a grievance or it's a brawl, which is ridiculous.
And, of course, when you think of San Diego, you think of Atlanta this year. Right. They had themselves quite a brouhaha. So Berenger, we are assuming, is just getting in a little work after Rosma was throwing all through the fourth inning. One and 2 the count to Alan Wiggins. 1 out, fifth inning, 3-2 Detroit. 2 and 2.
But Castillo just doesn't think he's not going to give him any room. He doesn't think that he's up to do anything except bunt.
Well, we'll see Castillo playing up, and if we get into a bunt situation for Detroit, we'll see Wiggins playing up. 2 and 2. Foul back. Imagine stealing 120 bases in one season. That's what this kid did in the low minors. So you know he can fly.
Jack McKeon saw him when he went to scout a pitcher. Jack was out trying to get ball players from everywhere, and he saw Wiggins, and then he said he's available for draft, and he drafted him.
From the neighborly Los Angeles Dodgers. 2-2. And there's a line drive flag by Lou Whitaker.
Sparky says it, but I'm going to tell you something. Down the middle, he's very strong. With Parrish, Whitaker, Trammell, and Lemon, there's Whitaker making a great play.
Another Gold Glove performance by Whitaker. Of course, Whitaker and Trammell have been together since 1978. So there's a considerable amount of teamwork between those two. And here's Tony Gwynn, flying to right and walk. And he bangs it up the middle, base hit. And with 2 out, the tying run is aboard, and the batter is Steve Garvey.
Young Gwynn is an amazing hitter. When you talk to the hitting coach, he says he has no zones. He doesn't anticipate. He sees the ball, and he puts it in play.
You know, you were talking about worrying about being hit. When he was at Walla Walla, Bobby Tolan would almost kneel in front of him and flip the ball up, and he would drill it, trying to teach him to get the head of the bat out in front. And people were worried that Tolan would get killed by Gwynn. But Bobby said, I've been hit, but he's worth it. And he's got himself a National League batting champ. He also runs well. He has stolen 33, so we keep an eye on him with 2 outs. 4-1.
You saw Parrish check the bench. We mentioned it before. Craig calls all pitch outs, Roger Craig, and there he goes checking again, and he also calls for throws by the pitcher to throw to first base. There you see him next to Billy Consolo.
1-0. Gwynn held on by Darrell Evans, a short lead. And he increased it, and immediately Morris went over there. So Garvey at first, he singled and grounded into a double play. And he's off the rubber, and Gwynn retreats. Jack Morris, a brilliant 19-game winner. He started the year off for Detroit on a high note. He won his first 5 straight, and he was 10-1 into May. An all-star if ever there was one, a 20-game winner last year. Tony Gwynn at first, the tying run. 3-2 Detroit, bottom of the 5th, 2 out. 1 ball and no strikes to Garvey. There he goes. The pitch is dropped at the plate by Parrish. It was high and inside, and Lance just dropped it. Stolen base for Gwynn.
You could see that Parrish was trying to handle that pitch and get in position. He just doesn't get it. Hits the heel of the glove and forget it. Gwynn, average jump, good speed though, and he's looking back to see if Garvey took a whack at it. It was not a straight steal.
So Garvey trying to pick him up and tie up the game. High slider, ball 3. And on deck, Greg Neville.
And look at him take a look. He wants to hit 3-0. Will they give him the green light? I would.
3-0.
Start it over, Morris says.
Line drive deep to left, but a hooking foul. So they let him go after that 3-0 fastball. And I assume now, if you let him go 3-0, he's on his own 3-1.
Oh, he's hitting now, for sure.
Well, he had a base hit in the first inning. They had the runners going to stay out of a double play, but Whitaker made a good tag to get to. And now Gwynn, the tying run at second with 2 outs. Fouled away, 3-2.
We also didn't give him the fastball to hit there. That was the breaking ball. He's going to give him something besides the fastball. If he gives him the fastball, it'll be where Jack Morris wants it.
You notice how Garvey, we're talking about the pendulum swing. He likes to swing down all the time. I don't know whether that tells you anything about his stroke or not, but Morris watching it. Win at second with 2 out, the tying run. Fastball, he didn't get around on it, and Whitaker will throw him out. So Morris just overpowered Garvey, and Tony Gwynn is left at second as Garvey is jammed. And at the end of 5, Tigers 3, Padres 2. The city of San Diego justly proud of Jack Murphy Stadium, and we're going along into the 6th inning with the Tigers having turned it around and taken a 3-2 lead thanks to the 2-run home run by Larry Herndon in the 5th inning. Down on the ground, Andy Hawkins has taken over for Mark Thurmond. So Thurmond, 5 innings, allowed 3 runs, 7 hits, walked 3, and struck out 2. And what kind of a pitcher are we looking at, Joe?
He's got a good fastball, a hard slider. He's trying to work on his change of pace. Part of his problem, he's a nibbler, and he gets behind the hitters, and they say with his stuff, he should never get behind.
In the dirt all the way to the backstop, ball 1. In fact, in his 2 appearances against the Cubs, as he works on Chet Lemon, the Padres were saying he got what he really needed, a boost in confidence. That's line to left, and Martinez coming over to play it on a hop. Lemon a big turn and holding as it comes into Templeton. So with that batting glove hanging out of the pocket, Lemon walks up and singles to left, saying hello to Hawkins, and that'll bring up Darrell Evans. Evans lost a hit on a fine play by Alan Wiggins in the 2nd inning, grounded out to Wiggins in the 4th, 0 for 2. Friends, this telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. So we'll keep an eye on Lemon now. And so will Hawkins. Lemon's a break-even base stealer. He's stolen 5 and he's been caught 5. But Garvey on the bag, so that gives Evans a hole on the right side.
One thing you may notice about these players, how they bear down on the coaches. Sparky will put a play on at any time from any base. The base runners are always looking. Look at him bearing down looking. And Evans checking.
That reflex action, grabbing your head to make sure you don't take one on the helmet. 0-1. 1-1. Were you on that Pirate Ball Club that first wore helmets?
We were the first club.
Yeah,
we were the
right.
experimental club because they laughed at us.
They said you were soapbox derby.
Yeah, why would anybody throw the 209 at team average, you know?
Now I know guys who wear helmets playing the outfield, and for good reason.
They should.
Down and in, ball 2, 2-1.
Well, if you're going to run him, here it is. Pitcher's delight, 2 balls and 1 strike. And look at Evans. He wants to know, is he gone? You got to be alive.
3-2 Detroit, top of the 6th. And Hawkins keeping an eye on Lemon. Lemon afraid he's going to get hit in the head. And that's hit and backhanded by Garvey, and he goes to the bag. It was like trying to catch a change of pace. He almost reached out too soon.
Evans hit the ball off the handle, and Garvey thought it was hit much harder. You see him do a double take there. And, of course, Chet Lemon can't do anything, but he's in no man's land, and you can see the disgusted reaction of Darrell Evans.
So Garvey gets 2 on that line drive, and the batter is Marty Castillo. 0-1. So Chet Lemon muttering to himself, how in the world can a man make a catch like that on a ball like that? High pop fly on the left side. Greg Nettles. That'll do it. All right, the top of the 6th inning is history. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Tigers, 2 runs, 5 hits for the Padres, and we go to the bottom of the 6th.
People read Amazing Crime. Find out how Lonnie and Linda became private detectives on a special 2-hour movie.
There's a chemistry.
It's a case of marriage, murder, and mayhem.
Hang in there, kid.
Get a double dose of action on a special 2-hour mystery movie.
So where's the party?
On Partners in Crime, Saturday.
You know, Joe, Davy Lopes had a sarcastic remark about the crowd being so important. He said, why doesn't the crowd in San Diego play the crowd in Chicago to see which crowd should go to the World Series? When you played, was the crowd important?
Oh, yes, sir. You hear a crowd like this, you hear a big crowd. When I played in Pittsburgh, we had private games and didn't hear the crowd. It bothered us.
Well, we'll see now about the so-called 10th man when we're in San Diego. And we'll see and hear from the 10th man at Tiger Stadium over the weekend. Greg Nettles. He'll be followed by Terry Kennedy and Bobby Brown. Nettles so far, single a left and walked. He scored a run on Terry Kennedy's double in the first inning. 3-2 Tigers, bottom of the 6th. Change, and it's hit off the end of the bat, and it's a base hit to center. So Morris makes a great pitch. Nettles is way out in front of it and gets a hit.
That's exactly what they wanted to do. He's even laughing himself, saying, I must have hit that with a wet Sporting News. It just kind of died out there. Didn't even bend the grass when it landed. He's a dead-high fastball hitter. They want to pitch him breaking stuff and off speed, but, hey, when you're swinging that bat, you get those. There's no such thing as a cheap hit. It is a hit.
Well, Terry Kennedy had the double to drive in 2 in the first inning, fly to center in the 3rd, and the first question is, will Evans hold the runner? And I think he told Morris he's coming off the bag, and he is. So Nettles at first, the tying run, it's 3-2 Detroit, bottom of the 6th. In case you wondered, during the regular year, Kennedy did not sacrifice even once. So the chances are very slim he'd be bunting now. Naturally, he has the power to take you out. Shearer and Lopez throwing now in the Detroit bullpen. That's hit foul down the left field line, out of play. Hit it inside out. 0-2. So he had seen action down there, Rosema and Berenguer and Bear, but now that it really means something, they have Aurelio Lopez and Bill Shearer, the left-hander. Roger Craig eyeballing Jack Morris's every move. 0-2 to Terry Kennedy. Base hit. Nettles to second and just did get there as Lemon almost had a force play. Thing to see about Bobby Brown. Brown is a switch hitter. He has sacrificed twice this year, but both times Bobby was sacrificing as a right-handed batter. Let's see what they do when he's hitting left-handed, and we also might have a runner. Let's see.
There's been some action on the bench, Ben. Ozzie Virgil really is the one who called time. He ran on the field. That's who it is.
He'll run for Nettles. Luis can play third base and center field. He's got a great arm.
You've got a bunt situation, and Parrish likes to throw. Salazar got to be careful because Parrish not afraid to throw. You kind of lean a little bit, he'll pick you right off.
Salazar had a sore leg yesterday during the workout. He hurt it during the league championship series with the Cubs, but evidently he's sound enough now. The Tigers bring up the corners. Both Evans and Castillo are up, and a bluff at second base just to keep Salazar anchored at the bag. 3-2 Detroit. Nobody out. Salazar at second, the tying run. Kennedy, the potential go-ahead run at first. Martinez and Templeton do a time call. Castillo wants to talk to Morris.
He wants to know just how far over he's going to break. They're going to try to set it up because Brown's job is to bunt the ball down the third base line, and the last thing you want to do is have confusion to where you get the bases loaded.
And remember earlier we were talking about Sparky's high regard for Jack Morris and his quickness coming off the mound, comparing it to left-handed Don Gullett. So there's Evans moving up. Kennedy and Salazar taking their lead. A pickoff play, no good to Whitaker. What happens there is the shortstop breaks to cover the first time, and when the shortstop goes towards third, it's a sucker play. They go to the second baseman.
Salazar is back. You practice that play in spring training. I've never been a big advocate of fancy plays in game situations. I still like 3 outs, make the play. You get those fancy plays, you end up with a big L in the scoring column.
I like that kind of a play, especially against a pinch runner who's coming into the game cold. And he's looking at ball 1.
I like that kind of play on the playground. I don't like it in the first game of the World Series.
All right.
I guess I'm a purist or a basics guy, because if one thing goes wrong, you got a fire drill on your hands, and pretty soon you've got a big rally going, and the other club hasn't done that much to make the rally. You have.
What's going on is, on a bunt, Whitaker figures to break to cover first, and Trammell figures to break to cover third, and that lulls the runner into thinking, well, I'll just follow the shortstop. But after they set him up, Whitaker would then fake going to first and circle back, and all of a sudden they've hung you out to dry, and Sparky has used that play for years. Sparky coached here in San Diego in 1969, and now they're on their feet here in Jack Murphy Stadium. So they took the bunt off, if it was ever on. 1-1. Remember what we talked about earlier? Carmelo Martinez is the best fly ball hitter on the team. That's what would make a sacrifice bunt here so very, very interesting. Missed it. 1-2. It's an interesting thought. You ever think that a fellow's a better bunter right-handed than left-handed? You wouldn't think so.
Wouldn't think so.
No.
He just missed that ball. He had a good ball to bunt. They teach bunting it's catching the baseball with the bat.
Well, with 2 strikes, the Tigers feel he will not be bunting. And he fouled it away. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Tigers. 2 runs, 7 hits, and an error for the Padres. Padres have Salazar running for Nettles at second, Kennedy at first, and Dick Williams on his feet in the dugout, and Sparky chewing away. One and 2. 2-2. I'll tell you one thing, the Padres sorely miss Kevin McReynolds. I don't care how good a series Bobby Brown has. McReynolds, 25 years old, is a franchise player, and he broke a bone in his wrist against Chicago. But, of course, Williams points out he won back in '72 without Reggie Jackson.
But it wasn't easy.
Never is. 2-2. Got him. Perfect fastball about at the knees on the outside part. Brown never did get a good swing. So the lack of the sacrifice gives Morris a chance for his 4th strikeout, and it'll bring up Carmelo Martinez, but the fly ball won't mean anything.
I'd love to know how fast that was, because from up here it looked like the hardest ball he has thrown. He had it in a good spot. He just overpowered him. He blew him away.
So Martinez grounded to short and struck out. 0 for 2.
They'll try to jam him with the fastball if they have to throw the fastball. They consider him a fastball hitter. They'll try to rely on the breaking ball, but if they throw the fastball, it should be in.
Ball 1. He's opened up a little bit.
Parrish will tell us where he wants it. Watch the way he leans.
sixth inning. Salazar at second, Kennedy at first, Martinez at the plate, and Templeton to follow. Fouled away, and he jammed him high and tight. He really went after him.
I'll tell you, that's a very effective pitch. The pitchers will take the two alleys, I mean the lanes, the outside and the inside lanes. They don't want any part of the middle. That's where the good pitchers pitch.
That's what Dan Quisenberry says. He says the middle of the plate is where offensive history is made.
Exactly.
1-1. 2-1. A good backhanded save by Parrish. He had to go across his body to get that. Second, Kennedy at first. Pop foul behind the plate and out of play. Dick Williams was trying to needle his own fans earlier this year when he referred to them as a nice, laid-back little Navy town. He has done his job. It doesn't sound laid-back or little by any means.
Well, he's a blunt guy. So is Jack McKeon. Jack McKeon says so the fans weren't cheering. What did they have to cheer about before this year?
Good point. 2-2 to Martinez. Got him. So Jack Morris, one of the great pitchers in the American League, shows you why. With first and second and nobody out, he punches out Brown and Martinez.
He let up on his curveball, and look at the concentration. It's a split-fingered fastball. You can see the grip. Great. Look at the tumble effect.
And so it's Gary Templeton, who wears number 1 on his back, and he's on the spot right now.
First ball hitter.
He hit the first pitch last time up, and hits one now. Foul. 0-1. He's up there hacking. He struck out in the second. All 5 strikeouts for Jack Morris have been swinging. Templeton hit the first pitch in the 4th inning and grounded to short.
They like to come hard inside. He likes to get those arms out and go to the opposite field. Hard stuff inside is where they'd like to go.
Boy, I'll tell you one thing. It's a great opening act.
Oh. They're playing the way they got here, and that's the way it should be.
And right away, after striking out Brown and Martinez, he has it 0-2 to Gary Templeton. And I would think the biggest pitching that he has made tonight was when he thwarted Brown's effort to sacrifice.
Morris has called his catcher out a couple times, and I particularly like to see that because the pitcher has the ball, he has to throw it, and he's telling Lance Parrish, here's what I want to do. It's not here's what I have a hunch to do, here's what I'd like to do, here's what I want to do, this is what I'm going to do.
So Jack Morris, striking out Brown and Martinez, is 1 pitch away from striking out the side. 0-1.
Well, I hate those hope pitchers. I like guys like this, hope pitchers. I hope I get it over. I hope they hit it. I hope somebody catches it. I hope it rains so I can get out of here.
1-2 to Gary Templeton. Salazar at second, the pinch runner. Kennedy at first. 2 out. 3-2 Detroit, bottom of the 6th. And he strikes him out away and strikes out the side on a half swing. The location really fooled Templeton. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Tom Brokaw, man at work. He goes where the news is. Tom Brokaw, anchoring NBC Nightly News, weeknights.
Learn how to predict the weather on News 4 Wednesday at 6.
We're going to the 7th inning here in San Diego with the Tigers leading the Padres 3-2. Jack Morris fighting his way out of a tough jam by striking out the sides with first and second and nobody out. Luis Salazar, who entered the game as a runner for Craig Nettles, is now at third base. And it'll be the top of the order: Whitaker, Trammell, and Gibson. And a change. 0-1. Andy Hawkins in relief of starter Mark Thurmond. 1-0. Whitaker doubled over Bobby Brown's head, flied to left and flied to center. He's 1 for 3. There's Salazar picking up for Greg Nettles at third. He has a great arm. Ball 2. In fact, if Marty Castillo and Luis Salazar and Gary Temple to start throwing balls over to first base, you really see some smoke. That's a strike. Two and 1, the count to the leadoff man, Lou Whitaker. And he's gone. Here's the scoring in the first inning. Trammell singled home Whitaker, who had doubled to give the Tigers a 1-0 lead. But Terry Kennedy doubled into the right field corner in the first to score Garvey and Nettles, who had singled, to give San Diego a lead. And then it was a home run by Larry Herndon with 2 out after Lance Parrish had doubled that gave Detroit the 3-2 lead. Trammell, 2 singles, flied to right. He's 2 for 3.
Kennedy calls his own pitch outs. He doesn't rely on pitch outs too much, although in the championship series against the Cubs he did. One of the top priorities is getting those pitchers to hold those runners close.
Trammell is bunting, and down to get it is Garvey and lets it go foul. Down in the San Diego bullpen, left-hander Dave Dravecki begins to loosen up. Building another wave as it rolls around towards the right field foul line. Phenomenon in baseball for 1984. The wave. On the corner. As a breaking ball adjusted, bite it off. 0-2 the count. Lou Whitaker held on by Garvey. Nobody out in the 7th. 3-2 Detroit. Two. 1-2. $57,908 on hand tonight. Detroit, the best road club in the major leagues this year, leading here in San Diego 3-2. One and two. Fouled away. To the right, out of play, so it's still 1-2. You know, in watching Kennedy give out the signs, there are a lot of ways for a catcher to communicate with a pitcher. What about outside signs? Working with your mask and your chest protector and your shin guards rather than pumping your fingers.
I asked him about that because some catchers like it. He doesn't like it, and sometimes you use it to change your signs. And he says, when I want to change them, I go out and tell them.
1-2. Roy Campanella, when he was catching for the Dodgers, said because of his dark fingers, some pitchers couldn't see his signs. So he worked with outside signs. People in the stands would watch him, and they would ask him, "Are you a Catholic? Are you blessing yourself?" He was given signs. 2-2.
Well, what you do sometimes is, let's say you put down 1, 2, 3, and the first sign counts, but you make it up with your pitcher. If I touch my mask, the last sign counts.
Yeah, right.
That kind of thing.
2 balls and 2 strikes, and the battle goes on. Hit in the air to right field. Gwynn fading, not to the track, however, just short of it. 3/4 of the way is Whitaker drawing a throw, which is a daring but a very sound play, making Gwynn throw and the possibility of making him throw it away. But as we said, everything Gwynn does is a tribute to Bobby Tolan.
You can see Whitaker watching now. He hustles back. and he makes him throw, but he gets back in plenty of time.
And it was a pretty high throw. You see it sailing. Garvey had to go up a little bit to get it. And with one out and Whitaker at first, here is Kirk Gibson. Flied to left in the first inning, struck out in the third, and walked in the fifth inning and was picked off. That preceded the double by Parrish. But it was forgotten when Herndon hit the home run. Pitch out, no action. Whitaker holding.
Interesting time for him to call that, and I specifically went to him yesterday and asked him about that. He said he didn't particularly like to call pitch outs, but I'm sure he saw something that indicated, hey, something's happening.
1-0. 2 balls and no strikes. On deck, Lance Parrish. That's a line score. 3 runs, 8 hits for Detroit. 2 runs, 7 hits, and an error for San Diego. It did not figure in the scoring. Big Lance on deck. Fouled away. They have an expression in baseball about waiting on a pitch, which is grammatically incorrect, but that's exactly what Gibson did. Boy, did he wait on that ball. That's why it went off to the left. He waited so long it was almost in Kennedy's mitt.
When you can do that, it makes you a better hitter. The longer you can wait, obviously, the better look you get at the ball. Keep that bat back. Musial was great at that. Musial was great at everything.
2-1.
Every time he'd slide, I'd expect to see oil come out of second base.
I love the way he's great at everything.
He is.
Andy Hawkins picking up for starter Mark Thurmond. 2 balls, 1 strike. 2-2. He came in on him and down, and Gibson can hit that ball, but not that time.
As you said earlier, it was a case of confidence with Hawkins as we look at the bullpen as they're looking on, and he's throwing with a lot of confidence, and he's got a good live arm.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Kirk Gibson. Whitaker at first, 1 out, 7th inning, 3-2 Detroit. Oh! Just got back, and Garvey thought he had him.
Gave him a little push. He may have just helped him off a little bit. Nothing wrong with that.
Little toe dance a la Lou Whitaker.
He went in with the left foot. Now Garvey gives him a little push with those Popeye arms, and he was changing feet.
Yeah.
What a time to go for a dance lesson.
And Larry Barnett of the American League right there to call him safe. 2-2. On the hands and popped up. Garvey says he'll take it. And he does.
You can see that Whitaker was losing his balance here. He goes in with the left foot. Now he's going to change, and
wow.
If he tagged him, you can't see the glove is behind him.
It looks like a break dance.
I'm telling you something. Of course, we got a replay. I'd have called him out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see just how big that play is now. Lance Parrish had an infield single in the first inning, walked in the third, doubled with 2 out in the 5th inning, and then rode home on Herndon's home run. So Whitaker called safe, doing a buck and wing over there, and Parrish is given the at-bat. 3-2 Detroit, top of the 7th. High fly ball, back a third down the line. A trio of Padres, and it's Martinez. Carmelo makes the play. So they leave Whitaker. That's 7 left by Detroit. And at the end of 6 1/2, Tigers 3, Padres 2.
They are the prodigies of racing's true champions, the sons and daughters of Northern Dancer, of Seattle Slew, of Alydar. This fall, the bloodline will be tested, and new champions will be born. The Breeders' Cup, November 10th on NBC.
Here's an off-speed pitch by Hawkins. Look at his grip. He's got 3 fingers on there. He's got a fastball arm speed, but look at the rotation. There is none. You can see the seam all the way. Much like a palm ball.
Well, you can see the numbers for Jack Morris. He has not had to labor too hard. However, in the last inning, remember, he had given up 2 hits to the first 2 batters and then proceeded to strike out the side. And we'll see whether that took a little something extra out of him or not. Kurt Bavacqua will start it off, bottom of the 7th inning. That's a strike. Bavacqua flied to left, flied to center. He was given the nod as the DH over Champ Summers, even though Champ is a left-handed batter. Change. Straight change, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Morris likes to start what he finish what he starts, but down in the bullpen, they've got the franchise down there.
There you see Shearer and Lopez. And if they really need the left-handed ace, of course, that's Willie Hernandez.
Well, that's what I'm referring to, not those 2.
1-1. Fouled away, down the line, out of play.
Ever a guy had an MVP year would be Hernandez.
I was interested in a quote in the papers attributed to Davy Johnson of the Mets, and he wasn't putting a knock on Willie, but he said, "I'm really shocked because I thought he was just an average pitcher in the National League." Well, maybe he was. But he has been absolutely incredible in Detroit. 1-2 to Bavacqua. 2-2. Detroit's pitching was magnificent in the Royals series. I mean, they just shut him down. And there's part of the staff. And Willie, of course, front and center.
I can't imagine Sparky going to the 2-hole warming up.
2-2. Fastball is hit inside first and down the line. Bavacqua is on his way for 2. Gibson chasing. They're waving Bavacqua to third. The relay to Whitaker. Whitaker to Castillo. They got him.
He stumbled. He stumbled as he rounded second base. It may be that he hasn't been playing, but he stumbled as he rounded second base. And what a play that was.
9-4-5 from Gibson to Whitaker to Castillo.
Right there. That's where he lost it. And that's where he lost the play. Virgil says get down, but basic baseball, hitting the relay man, made the play.
And I will say, Virgil was waving him to third. As you see, Gibson almost fall down in the bullpen. Here's the play, that throw by Whitaker.
Hitting the cutoff man. And that made it. Basic baseball. Cutoff man. Hit him.
So there's a gamble by Ossie Virgil. He had his leadoff man with a cinch double, pressed his luck, and it cost him. And with 1 out, here is Alan Wiggin. Castillo creeping in, ball 1. So Bavacqua, as we said, only had a few at-bats all year. You know he didn't have a chance to go from home to third, and threw a shoe on the far turn, and it cost him. Fisted back a third, slicing foul. Herndon can't get it.
And there's no way that Virgil would know that he was going to throw that shoe. As he rounds second base, he's coming full tilt right here. Now you see him start to leak the oil right there, and there goes the wheel, and he recovers his balance. Down, says Virgil. The man in Novena wouldn't help him on that play once he stumbled.
So the Padres get burned on the gamble. 1-1 to count to Wiggin. And he's going to drag. And Morris tags him out. Remember, we were talking about Sparky's regard, how quick Jack Morris is. Quicker than Gullett, he said, and we couldn't believe him. Now you get an idea.
He gets off the mound in good shape, and he knows exactly what he has to do and makes the tag. In this inning right here, you saw 2 plays of why the Tigers are where they are that hasn't been getting much publicity, and that is the basic baseball. Hitting the cutoff man, fielding your position. It's easy to win when you get the home runs and the Hernandez and what have you, as we look at Bavacqua, who still can't understand it. But you saw 2 pretty good plays in this inning by the Tigers.
Well, here's Tony Gwynn, flied to right, walked, singled, and stole a base. In fact, the last 3 innings, there have been cracks in Morris's armor, and one way or another, he's been able to regroup. They left Gwynn at second base in the 5th inning. They had runners at first and second, and nobody out in the 6th inning, and Brown was unable to bunt. Bavacqua is burned, trying to stretch a double into a triple, and Wiggins out on the tag play. So the Padres spinning their wheels in the last couple of innings. 1-0. Ball 2.
The good pitcher, the thoroughbred, he wants to finish it. He smells the victory. And Jack Morris, if he indeed needed the blowout patch, he's applied it himself. In the 6th inning, he struck out the side, and here in the 7th inning, he makes the good play on Wiggins.
And Jack completed about 25% of his starts this year, which is a miracle when you have Hernandez and Lopez in the bullpen and a manager who figures that 7 innings is really the bottom line.
And who has the reputation of Captain Hook. I mean, in Cincinnati, if you had bad breath, you came out.
Gone.
Parrish wants to find out how he feels, how's he going. There's no strategy here. Letting him catch a breather. Come on, battle it through.
The big thing for Morris, he has only walked 2 batters, and both of them came back in the 3rd inning. So he is doing anything but beat himself. He is not walking people, and he's getting the defensive support he needs. 2-0 the count to Tony Gwynn. 2 down, 7th inning, 3-2 Detroit. 3-0.
In talking about tonight's game, yesterday he said, if they're going to beat me, they're going to beat me with the bats, not with the legs. I'm not going to walk people.
He's done that. Here's 3-0. Strike. Gwynn hitting in the number 2 slot is followed by Steve Garvey. And he's walking. That's only the 3rd walk, and it's the first walk since the 3rd inning. So again, it's Garvey and the chicken. Garvey singled to right and scored in the 1st inning. With the runners going, he grounded into a tag double play in the 3rd. And in the 5th inning, with a runner at 2nd, he was really jammed, tied up, did not have a good swing, and rolled out to Whitaker. Morris kind of ate him up inside with a good fastball. We'll watch Gwynn at first. He's the tying run with 2 out. Remember, he stole 33 during the regular season.
Would expect Garvey to get at least 2 hacks. I mean, Dick Williams, you can't take anything for granted, that's for sure, but the one thing you don't want to do is run yourself out of the inning with a guy like Garvey up there who's had the hot hand.
We'll watch Gwynn, held on by Evans, and you can bet Morris is watching him. Gwynn stole 2nd in the 5th inning when Lance Parrish dropped a pitch. Delivery, and Garvey so far out in front of it.
That was nasty. Nasty. That's the kind of, when they throw it, you can feel the pressure on your shoestrings as your body starts to leave the shoes.
Look at this.
It's the split finger, and he's way out in front. They'll try to make him with 2 strikes now. It's the breaking pitch, outside part, maybe even bounce it. Fastball hard inside. But with 2 strikes, they got the chance to break the curveball, but you got the guy on first.
0-2. Gwynn goes on a pitch out, and Parrish to Whitaker. They hang him out to dry.
How do you like that? Roger Craig, you got to give him a lot of credit. 2 strikes. He calls the pitch outs. He called that one. I tell you, amazing.
A very expensive inning for the Padres, who have a man thrown out at 2nd and a man burned at 3rd. And at the end of 7, 3-2 Detroit. Well, we go to the 8th inning. It's still 3-2 Detroit, and Larry Herndon, who put the Tigers out in front, takes a breaking ball strike. Herndon had an infield single in the 1st inning, hit into a force play in the 3rd, and then hit the home run with Parrish aboard in the 5th inning. Oh, a little smoke on that?
Oh, heat.
The modern ball player talks about a pitcher bringing it. That one was just broad.
Old Diz would say he brung that one.
Old Diz. You know, it's funny you should mention his name, Dizzy Dean. Tonight is an anniversary in baseball history about Diz and Detroit. It was on this day 50 years ago that Dizzy Dean shut out Detroit 11-0, and the Cardinals won the World Series.
34 World Series, Gas House gang.
That's something. 2-2. 3 runs, 8 hits for Detroit. 2 runs, 8 hits for the Padres. See how Hawkins hesitates before he brings that right arm around? It's as if he gathers and regroups while in the middle of his delivery. Full count to Larry Herndon. Fouled away. Here's the big offensive play tonight. It was in the 5th inning with 2 out and Parrish at second base. It was 2-1 San Diego, and Herndon went the other way, and it cleared the 8-foot-high wall, and it went upstairs above the concrete, and that turned it around. The Padres have yet to recover from it. Larry, of course, broke in the National League with the San Francisco Giants. And he lost him. So Herndon walks to open up matters in the 8th inning. The first pass given up by Hawkins, and it'll bring up Garvey. In fact, in looking back, he also walked Whitaker in the 7th, so that's his second walk. Alex Kramis talking to Garvey, who has hit into a force play, grounded out, and struck out. Garvey, remember, had the bat sawed off in his hands back in the 5th inning. Salazar huddling with Kennedy and with Hawkins.
There he is.
There he is.
That's the guy you expected, the franchise. Get that 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, and he's up.
By the way, in the bottom of this 8th inning, Garvey, Salazar, and then Kennedy, the left-hand hitter. Garvey will be followed by Lemon and Evans. And Brevecki now gets up in the San Diego bullpen. Bunt's foul out of play. If you thought that was a bad bunt, we just pass along the note. He did not sacrifice this year. So he's trying to move Herndon up a notch.
It's going to be tough to sacrifice tonight if he keeps stabbing at it like that. His bat really was not in a good bunting position.
Salazar coming in on the grass. Garvey has to hold a corner on Herndon. 3-2 Detroit in the 8th. Foul back. It's pretty tough to ask a man to do something in the World Series that he is yet to do during the regular season.
The bottom hand, the left hand, should control the angle of the bat. He didn't have that bat level at all. He had it at an angle to begin with, and it was almost like he was stabbing, like it was a sword.
So 0-2 to Barbaro Garvey. One and two. The lack of the bunt is a big play that has haunted San Diego in the 6th inning when Bobby Brown, who had 2 sacrifices as a right-handed batter, couldn't bunt left-handed. That was a big play. Little nubber off the bare hands down to Templeton, who throws and gets him. Gary with that fine arm. And down to second goes Herndon. So Barbet got his man over anyway, and since it touched Hawkins' fingertips, he'll get an assist. It's 1-6-3.
Templeton made it by a couple of steps. It looked like it was going to be a tough play, maybe even a base hit, but Templeton was there and deflected by Hawkins. He did get a piece of it. There you see it. Being nonchalant, but with that arm, he just guns him.
What an arm. So Herndon at second with one out, and Chet Lemon trying to pick him up. Lemon is 1 for 3. Strike. Lemon grounded to third. Then he hit the fly ball in the 4th inning that fooled Martinez. It went for a 2-base error. And his last time up in the 6th inning, he singled, but he was doubled up on the looper by Evans that was one-handed by Garvey. We're in the 8th inning. Detroit 3, Padres 2. Game 1, it's a dandy. One and one. Good save by Kennedy.
Boy, you can see why the San Diego coaching staff and the manager like this kid Hawkins. He's got a good live arm.
1 and 1. High fly ball to straightaway center to Bobby Brown. Going back to the bag is Herndon, and he'll hold. And Brown gets the ball back into Templeton. Evans was robbed of a hit by Alan Wiggins in the 2nd inning, rolled out to Wiggins in the 4th, and then hit the ball at the end of the bat, and Garvey was able to leap in the air and backhand it and turn it into a double play, and they're going to take the bat right out of his hands. So Evans, with any luck at all, would be 2 for 3 tonight. Instead, he is 0 for 3 with this walk.
A lot of people say they should eliminate this and speed up baseball. I completely disagree. I've seen some fairly weird things as Johnny Grubb has come out as the pinch hitter. And they're intentionally walking someone. I've seen fellas hit it. And remember, Dick Williams pulled it on Sparky Anderson on the 3-2 count to Johnny Bench when he was batting. And he walked out there as if to say, put him on. And Tennis got out there, put his hand out there at the last minute, fingers threw a strike, and Bench was out, and he was surprised. Sparky was surprised.
But Cincinnati won the game 1-0.
True.
Well, here's Johnny Grubb. You talk about somebody coming home. You know, John was an all-star for the Padres in 1974. In fact, prior to Tony Gwynn's big year, he had the best hitting average for a left-hand batter in Padre history. And since he's coming up, Dravecki will be coming in. Grubb hit .311 for the Padres, and he's not going to play. So we got time. We'll be back right after this. They're going to hit for Johnny Grubb.
America's Presidents, America's Game. Join in the commemoration of a grand old tradition by getting your World Series program. Send a $5 check or money order to World Series Program, P.O. Box 8484, Trenton, New Jersey, 08650. That's World Series Program, P.O. Box 8484, Trenton, New Jersey, 08650.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
On the left is Andy Hawkins, who worked 2 2/3 innings, and he's annoyed basically over one thing. In a tough one-run game, he walked the leadoff man, Larry Herndon. So 2 outs later, after walking Evans, he comes out. Dave Dravecki is now picking up, and running at first is Dave Bergman for Darrell Evans. Meanwhile, Tom Brookins will bat for Johnny Grubb. Bergman is a marvelous defensive first baseman. So in a one-run game, I think Sparky would have made the move anyway. And now he gets a maximum out of the move by putting him in as a runner. Here is Brookins. He had a twin brother who played for Detroit in 77 and 78. He even had a cousin who pitched for Detroit. So he's a Tiger all the way. 0-1. Brookins, a first-round draft choice for Detroit in 75, finds Herndon at second and Bergman at first. 2 out. 3-2 Detroit in the 8th. Fouled away. 1-1. What's your book on Dravecky?
Trevecchi's got as good an arm as you'll want to look at. He'll come at you. He's got a big, hard fastball, hard slider. And he's another one of those 3 guys that have just kept the San Diego club going, the middle relief men.
And that's hit looping to right center, but Gwynn is there. So with the wheeling and the dealing, Williams brings in Dravecky to get Brookins, who hit for Grubb. And at the end of 7.5, 3-2 Detroit.
On October 14th, the epic of V continues with the final battle. And then the countdown begins for the thrilling premiere of V, the series, this Sunday.
We're moving to the bottom of the 8th inning in Game 1 of the World Series. Dave Bergman, who ran for Darrell Evans, stays in at first base. Tom Brookins, who batted for Johnny Grubb, who was going to bat for Castillo. Tommy takes over at third. And with a little music from Zorba the Greek, this crowd is on its feet, and it'll be a noisy bottom half with Garvey, Salazar, and Kennedy. Garvey singled in the first, scored a run, grounded into a double play in the third, and grounded out in the fifth. And Jack Morris, who has been bobbing and weaving the last 3 innings and doing a remarkable job, set sails into the 8th inning, leading 3-2. I don't know how you hit that pitch.
You don't, and most of the times it's not in the strike zone. The key, as you hear Roger Craig talk about it, is the speed of the arm. It's a fastball mentality that you have when you throw it.
0-1. Fouled away, so immediately Garvey in a hole, 0-2.
With 2 strikes, they bounce that ball or stay with the fastball inside, but in a spot like this, you throw that 55-foot curveball, and as all curveballs, you want to get it down, and if you miss, you want to beat the outside part of the plate. Let's see how they go.
0-2. Morris has struck out 5, walked 3. He just went to old Reliable and blew him away.
There's the split finger. Look how far he's got him split this time. That's the best look we've had at it. There's that tumbling, and it's just awesome when he throws it. Perry said that there were days that he threw that thing. It was just unhittable. Garvey, way over it. It just ducked under that bat.
So when in doubt, Jack goes to the split finger. He has struck out 7, all swinging. And here is Salazar, who came into the game as a runner in the 6th inning for Greg Nettles. If you weren't with us, in the 6th inning, Nettles and Kennedy opened up with singles. Brown couldn't bunt, and Morris proceeded to strike out the side. In the 7th inning, Bavacqua was thrown out when he stumbled rounding second, tried to make it for 3, and came up empty.
Boy, he smells it now. He's coming down. He's coming down the stretch, and he's coming down hard, Morris says.
0-2 the count. When he pitched his no-hitter, it was our first game of the week. He struck out 8. He is 7 tonight. Ground ball to third. Tommy Brookins gets his feet wet defensively. So 2 down in the 8th inning. Tomorrow night, Game 2. Dan Petrie, 18-8, and Ed Whitson, 14-8. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Game 2. Boy, we're a long way from finishing Game 1. Here's Kennedy. Doubled and took third on the throw in the 1st inning, and they left him. But he knocked in 2. Flied to center in the 3rd with runners at 1st and 3rd, and singled in the 6th inning. Strike. So Terry is 2 for 3. 2 RBIs. Last year, the top hitting catcher in the National League, winning the Silver Slugger Award. Foul back, 0-2.
He hasn't thrown anything but strikes this inning. And it shows you that it's like some managers say, I don't need starters, I need finishers. I'm not looking for throwers, I'm looking for pitchers. And that's what you're seeing right here. He smells the victory, and he's coming down hard.
Morris walked 2 in the 3rd inning. Did not walk another man until Gwynn in the 7th. And Gwynn was thrown out stealing. Remember, on the pitch out. 0-2. Check swing foul. Well, now, give me a Cabbage Patch doll and Game 1 of the World Series, and I'm in heaven. There are a lot of little ones up late tonight in San Diego and probably in Detroit. Oh, and 2, the count to Terry Kennedy. Wouldn't bite. 1-2. Well, Sparky Anderson said it early this year. I don't have to talk anymore, he said. This team will talk for me. And boy, has it ever.
Yeah, but that's not like Sparky. Sparky, as recently as yesterday, said, man, I could step on 50 nails and never get lockjaw. Old Sparker.
1-2 to Terry Kennedy. 3-2 Tigers, bottom of the 8th. 2 out. Ground foul. What was it one of the writers wrote about Sparky's speech?
Milt Richmond. He said he's got a speech impediment. Every once in a while he comes up for a breath.
Steve Garvey isn't saying very much right now, having struck out, opening up the 8th inning. 1-2 to Terry Kennedy. Tigers scored 1 in the 1st. The Padres got 2. Herndon hit a 2-run home run in the 5th, and no one's made a sound since. And there goes Terry, and that's 8 strikeouts for Jack Morris. His high for the year, 10 against California. He is something. At the end of 8, 3-2 Detroit.
And there it is once again, that great shot. You can see those fingers spread. You can't see it in the batter's box, and that's where it's most important. And here are the stats. Strikeouts 8, but he has struck out 5 since the 6th. So coming down the stretch, he's really gone to the whip.
Remember, Jack struck out the side in the 6th inning, and we were wondering if that took anything out of him as he sits with Kirk Gibson. He's behind Kirk. And in the 7th inning, after having struck out the side in the 6th, that's when Bavacqua hooked the ball down and was thrown out going to 3rd. That's the biggest single play now as we get down to the 9th inning. And Lou Whitaker, 4-1. Whitaker has doubled, flied to left, flied to center, and walked. Made a very good tag play with the runners going on the ground ball by Garvey and turned it into a double play in the 3rd inning. And he made a magnificent throw, getting Bavacqua trying to stretch after receiving the throw from Gibson. I would assume, I'm only guessing, that Whitaker's going to be the cutoff man in almost every instance out there.
Sure.
Especially if Alan Trammell's arm is bothering him at all, because Whitaker has a fine arm.
You really don't go textbook where shortstop left field and second baseman right field.
Fouled away in the count 2-2.
You go to the gun. Who's got the best arm?
We're in the 9th. 3 runs, 8 hits for Detroit. 2 runs, 8 hits for the Padres. And Detroit, the Tigers hit more home runs on the road than they did at Tiger Stadium. And sure enough, it's the difference tonight on the road. They led the majors in home runs, and Dick Williams and Norm Sherry saw Herndon hit the big one tonight. Whitaker, down he goes. When the Padres come up in the bottom of the 9th, they are due to send up Bobby Brown, Carmelo Martinez, and Gary Templeton. Available on the bench, left-hand batters, Tim Flannery, Champ Summers, and the switch-hitting Ron Renicky, who is filling in for the injured Kevin McReynolds. 0-1. I think if there's one big difference, the thing that will really hurt the Padres is the loss of McReynolds. 2-0 the count. Trammell singled to left in the 1st inning, in the 3rd inning, and then twice went the other way and flied to right.
They certainly will lose some power with him. Forget his stats. That home run he hit against the Cubs, he said he broke his bat and he hit it in the seats.
Can you imagine? Well, he hit 20, and Jack McKeon calls him the franchise.
But Doug Harvey, who's behind the plate, says he's got the most powerful, easiest swing since Ernie Banks.
Yep. That's a little looper hit right at Wiggins. 2 down.
Tell you gotta like Dravecky, too. He's one of those determined young guys, and he just comes in there. In fact, Harry Dunlop was telling me, they told him in the bullpen, you must have been a cheerleader when you were in school, because he's cheering and he's talking to everybody, talks to himself.
Well, he's going to try and make Kirk Gibson talk to himself. Kirk has flied to left and struck out. Walked in the 5th inning and was picked off, and popped up in the 7th. So the big guy's 0 for 3. Dravecky dropping his arm, little sidearm to Gibson. 1-0. Sparky said he had a lot of trouble coming here to San Diego, even with the big red machine. So he knows they're tough here. Ground ball to the left side. Templeton low to Garvey in time. So Dravecky sets him down, and all of San Diego now awaits the bottom of the 9th inning. 3-2 Detroit. That is the more than just formidable task faced by the San Diego Padres. Is that an incredible stat? Well, they don't care here. I'm sure Bobby Brown isn't aware of it. Followed by Martinez and Templeton. Brookins in on the grass at 3rd. And Brown very late, 0-1. It was Brown's inability to bunt in the 6th inning. That was a big play. And it was Bavacqua cut down at 3rd, and it was the tag by Morris on Wiggins' bunt. Change. Foul back and out of play. 0-2.
You can almost feel the tempo that Morris has picked up as he's come on here in the late innings. He just wants that ball and come at you.
And if he staggers at all in the 9th inning, they get the big guy ready in the bullpen. There's Willie Hernandez. 0-2 to Bobby Brown. 0-1. Morris has had his share of troubles. The Padres have put him through the ringer, but he has been equal to the occasion. Half swing, and Brown is burned out. 9 strikeouts for Jack Morris.
And Doug Harvey behind the plate didn't hesitate. That right hand went right up. Looked like they were going to appeal it, but it looked like it just bottom fell right out of it.
So with 1 out, Carmelo Martinez, the batter, grounded to short and struck out twice. 3-2 Detroit, bottom of the 9th inning. Morris has struck out 6 of the last 10 batters he has faced. Ground ball wide to 3rd. Brookins has it. Over to Bergman. 2 down in the 9th. Friends, Game 1 of the 1984 World Series has been brought to you by Low & Brown. When you want the taste of a truly great beer, there's really only one. Tonight, let it be Low & Brown. By Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. And by General Electric. At GE, we bring good things to life. Well, here's the first ball hitter, Gary Templeton, with 2 out in the 9th inning. Morris has retired the last 5 in a row. 0-1. Brookins stays in on the grass. On deck, Kurt Bavacqua. Now back 1-1.
He's got a lot of room in right center field, but the scouting report says that left-handed, he's going to hit that ball to the opposite field. There you see that gap in right center. It's up to Morris to, if he's going to stack him that way, to make him hit that way.
And Herndon is as deep in left field as he would play a right-hand hitter. 1-1. Now back 1-2.
And what do you think he's going to get here? I'd look for the thing.
Yeah.
The thing, the split-fingered fastball. It's been dropping right. The bottom has been falling out.
And Williams knows time is running now. He's down to his last strike in Game 1. Morris has made 131 pitches up to here. 2-2. Jack double-checking the count. It's 2-2. 2 out, 9th inning, bases empty. Tigers 3, Padres 2. Little ground ball to first. This ought to do it. Bergman to the bag, and the lights go out on Game 1 in San Diego. Jack Morris goes all the way, retires the last 6 in a row. He was threatened. The Padres had him on the ropes, and he had the ability to get off the ropes, and they couldn't put him away. The key plays again. They left Gwynn at second. They had first and second and nobody out in the 6th. They couldn't do it, and Bavacqua out at 3rd. And so, this week's NBC Light Beer from Miller Player of the Game, deservedly so, is Jack Morris. Light Beer from Miller happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Jack Morris to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. There was room for a lot of heroes, but the #1 man was Jack Morris. The key home run by Larry Herndon with a man aboard. And Morris, who won the first game in the playoffs, leads the Tigers to their first victory in Game 1 in the World Series. He was magnificent.
He was magnificent. He had it. He smelled it coming down the stretch. He went out and he got it. He closed it. But the Tigers played good basic baseball to win it. And those San Diego Padres, they're here because they're a good ball club. And we got a great series coming up, Ben.
And how? But Joe Garagiola, Vin Scully, reminding you to join us tomorrow night for Game 2 of the World Series. The Tonight Show coming up with Johnny Carson, except on the West Coast. And until tomorrow, a very pleasant good evening.
The World Series is a special presentation of NBC Sports, the leader in innovative sports television.
The Tigers even.
Game 1 of the series is now history.
Coming up, a special World Series edition of News 4 Tonight from San Diego and Detroit.
Tuning into the Tigers all over town. I'm Kevin Kerrigan. I'll have the story.
I got to watch the game with the original Jack Morris fan club. I'm Margie Reedy. I'll tell you all about it.
People who are immune to tiger fever. I'm Deborah Silverstein. That story coming up.
I'm Mort Krim with Carmen Harlan. Fred Hickman standing by with highlights.
Eli Zaret and Al Ackerman are in San Diego with reaction from the players.
Brian Teglin's in Weather Watch, and we'll have much more right now on a special World Series edition of News 4 Tonight.
I have taken on many fighters and tried many beers. One beer isn't a class by itself. Light beer from Miller. Light tastes great, and it's less filling. It weighs in at 1/3 less calories than the regular beer. Yes, I discovered your greatest beer, but I never met your greatest fighter. Hey, who is this Billy Martin anyway?
Billy Martin. He's warm, he's gentle, good looking too.
I got to meet this guy.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
The KGB is no match for the NYPD today at 4:30.
The Tigers win, and from San Diego and Detroit, this is a special World Series edition of News 4 Tonight. And bless you boys, now the skeptics know why the Tigers are favored to win it all. With the Tigers winning Game 1 of the 1984 World Series, Jack Morris pitched in the tradition of Mickey Lolich. He survived a rocky first inning and then paved a winning game, mowing down the San Diego Padres. Thanks to the strong pitching of Morris and some timely hitting, the Tigers beat the Padres 3-2 to take a 1-game-to-none lead in the World Series.
You know, the official ratings aren't in yet, but we have to believe that most Detroiters were near a television set and watched tonight's game. Fred Hickman of our First Four sports team watched it very closely.
Fred is in the newsroom right now with a recap of the key plays in tonight's exciting game. Fred?
Well, thank you, Mort and Carmen, and there were plenty of those key plays, but the big factor is 1 down and 3 to go.
Game 1, the most important game in the World Series, that most classic of fall classics, is on the books, and Detroit comes away the winner. Here's how. We'll pick it up right in the first inning of play for you, and we'll take a look at Jack Murphy Stadium, one of America's most beautiful cities, San Diego, one of my favorites. Lou Whitaker led off the Tiger first with a booming double. It gets over Bobby Brown's head out in center field, and it's important, of course, for the Tigers to score early in this series. Whitaker was lining up, but it was a 3-2 pitch from Padre starter Mark Thurmond. Alan Trammell hit next, got another 3-2 pitch and drove it through the left side, delivering Lou Whitaker. With the first World Series run of 1984, Trammell was forced to stop at first, Martinez's strong throw being cut off. Big play holding him to it, stopped him from scoring. Nobody out. Thurmond, with one of the best pickoff moves in the National League, caught Trammell going, picked him off. Here's Jack Morris, kept the Padres' leadoff man Alan Wiggin off in the first, but could do little with number 3 hitter Steve Garvey. Garvey with a single to right field. Nettles followed with a single, and then Terry Kennedy got both of those men around with a double to right. This one rattles around in the Tiger bullpen, but that ball is in play according to the stadium's ground rules. Kennedy took third on the throw-in. Dick Williams, the Padres manager, pleased, of course, to have a 2-1 pad to work with. Clapping and cheering his boys on. Sparky Anderson, the Tigers manager, smelling trouble. However, there would be no more this frame. Padres showed some tough D in the Tigers' second. Chet Lemon is robbed of a hit by Greg Nettles' play at third. Nice to have a plucky veteran or two around. Alan Wiggins followed suit, same inning, taking a sure safety away from Darrell Evans. Remember, Wiggins is a converted outfielder, playing his first full season at second base. In the Detroit fifth, Kurt Gibson walked on and got what Trammell got in the first, and that's picked off by a good Thurmond move. Too bad, too, because Lance Parrish followed with a double down the left field line. Now, this one gets under the bunting out there. Watch it disappear. That's a ground rule double in San Diego. Gibson would have gotten to third, and he stayed on, that is. But Larry Herndon's homer, which followed, would have been a 3-runner instead of a 2-run job. However, the shot to right does get Detroit ahead in the game 3-2. That, of course, is the most important thing, game-winning RBI. In the sixth, Chester Lemon joined the hit parade. The single, which came off reliever Andy Hawkins' first inning of work, Chet's first single in 16 playoff at-bats. But Chet is wiped out when Darrell Evans' little lazy liner finds Garvey like a heat-seeking missile. Lemon did not have a snowball's chance of getting back, and nothing could be done about a double play. Now, a big jam gotten out of by Jack Morris. 2 men on, nobody out. He fans Bobby Brown, then Carmelo Martinez, and then Gary Templeton to put down the Padres' uprising with no damage done. Now, coming up, we've got the Tiger defensive play of the game. Happened in the Padres' 7th. DH Kurt Bavacqua hits one down into that Tiger bullpen, and he gets on his horse. He smells 2, and then he thinks about 3. But Gibson's throw is relayed by second baseman Lou Whitaker to Castillo at third, and the leadoff man is out of there by inches. Nice piece of teamwork. Jack Morris, superb all evening long. He got the distance, retired the last 7 Padres he faced in order. Templeton grounds out to Dave Bergman at first base, and that, as they say, is the old ball game. Tigers up in the World Series, a best-of-7 affair, 1 win tonight. Well, those are your World Series highlights. I'll be back later on News 4 with more sports, including some news from the gridiron. But right now, the Tigers are 1-up. Carmen, Mort?
Still enjoyed watching it, too. Thank you, Fred.
Thanks.
We'll hear live from Eli Zared in San Diego.